Welcome to America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage on President's Day. Good to have you with us. Our program brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Greg Wolf alongside New York Racing Association handicapper Andy Serling here on the desk as we get set for cards here in South Ozone Park at Aqueduct. And while the entire late pick 5 from Oaklawn, while that Haynes field here, what do you think, Dr. Ardito?
I just think it's kind of cool that we're running
on quite a streak.
We're running the Haynes field on the day that maybe Steve Asmussen will set the record.
Yeah.
Of course, he was the listed trainer on Haynes field as well.
10,000.
Dr. Ardito, Dr. Ardito is getting a real test against some pretty hardened veterans. He's run fast races, but it comes a bit of a class thing, right? He's also LASIX off, which I think should at least be noted. It's a bit of a class test. He's running against some hardened veterans, but he's run some fast races, too.
What do you think now, though, should be the controlling speed? Yep. We'll see if he can take him gate to wire. That is coming up later at Aqueduct. Right now, it's right off to Oaklawn in Hot Springs, Arkansas. 10,000 starter allowance, 6 furlong sprint. And the 9-5 favorite in this spot, Drina's Star, for Jerry Hollendorfer, who just claimed him. Blinkers going on. Let's check in live with Paul LaDuca.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Andy. Happy President's Day to you as well. Beautiful day here at Oaklawn Park. In fact, since I've been here, this is the first time I've been able to put on a suit. It seems like I've been having jackets and sweaters on, but a gorgeous day today. To start off the card, Robertina Diodoro won the first 2 races, and it was a very, very popular daily double, paid only $5.80. And then David Jacobson, who has a lot of horses in today, actually won the last race at 5-1, was 5-2 on the morning line, didn't really get played, and actually won the race quite easily. So we on to the race number 4 in here, and Drina Star for Jerry Hollendorfer off the claim. This is a 9-year-old now, and you look at the 2 horses in here that are getting bet. You have an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, Drina Star is an 8-year-old, and Town Champ's a 9-year-old. So, when you look at the 5 and the 6, Town Champ was able to go to the front and get the job done from the 8-hole. He beat Trumpets. Trumpets actually came back to win race number 1 today, and Drina Star was 3rd in that spot. And Christian Torres actually jumps and doesn't stay with this horse. He goes to the 1 in here, and Francisco Arrieta will pick up the mount. And that's going to be very interesting what happens early in this race, because Arthurian's very, very fast from the rail for Cody Razine. And can this horse get towards the front end? I'm kind of surprised a little bit by the wagering. I thought the 1 and the 5 would be battling for favoritism. The 6 had front wraps for the first time, last time out. And like I said, at age 9, can he keep on firing great races? And can the 5 at age 8, fire some good races? The blinkers go on. I think that he's the one to beat. But I also think that the public is dismissing the 1. And Christian Torres is just on fire, Greg.
Hey, Paulie, I have a question. I was kind of interested in the 8. I know there seems to be a lot of speed in here with the 6, 8, and 9, but he's a horse that's rated before. What do you think of him? Do you think he had a chance to maybe sit 3rd behind those horses?
100%. He was my other horse in here, Andy, by far. The horse is in very, very good form. And, if you want to poke some holes into the other ones, Terry Brennan's a very, very good conditioner. And this horse comes off some good races. And like you said, can be able to rate in the middle of the racetrack. We have seen the 2 best horses win the first 2 races. But in the last race, we saw a horse come from off the pace a little bit. We've been seeing this racetrack the last couple days play a little bit towards speed. And maybe it will change a little bit today. But I'm totally in agreement with you. If there's an upset in here, I think it's the 8.
11-1 right now. That's for Terry Brennan. Horse that's been popular in the claim box. Grapnel, double-digit odds. Where not a big surprise. Drina Star, I've liked this horse for a long time. Robertino Diodoro used to have this horse a couple of times. Reclaimed him, actually. Now with Jerry Hollendorfer, 5-2 on him. But Town Champ, I thought deserving favorite.
Yeah, he does. I just worry that between the 8 and the 9, that one of them could put some pressure on him. And I know he comes off a big effort, but my worry with him, and I'm not saying he can't win, and he's a short price, he's a voided claim for 62.5 2 races back. Yes, he got it done and he ran very well last time. And a repeat of that effort makes him a huge player in this race. But at 8-5, I just don't like running in the cheaper levels with the voided claim 2 back for whatever it's worth.
8-time winner from 30 starts, and one of his more impressive performances really in his career was last time out, 9 years old now. Town Champ.
Yeah, you mentioned Drina Star. I'm sure I saw this horse run in Saratoga. Maybe even Tino had him up there. I mean, sometimes you see these names and you feel like I remember this horse running in New York. If you go through Lifetime PPs, you realize it was like 2017, or 18.
Yeah, he's been an 8-year-old who's been around for a while as well. 10-time winner, over 380 grand in earnings, but he's been on our program quite a few times for some different barns. Arthurian, the one from the inside too, showed speed last start. Gate to wire win in a condition 10 claiming race. Was with Diodoro. Now Cody Rosen claimed him.
That worries me, but he would only make one start for Diodoro, so he didn't really have him that long,
Vic Stauffer, here we go. Fourth from Oak Lawn to kick off our program.
They're off. Smile for Me, Town Champ, Drina Star, Arthurian, Grapnel, and Lansdowne. How about 6 for the lead? Arthurian puts his head in front. Cold Truth comes away in the 7th, and the trailer is Title Shot. It's Arthurian up the backstretch. He leads a lineup of 5. Smile for Me, Town Champ, Drina Star, Grapnel, and Lansdowne. Lansdowne is going to be 6 wide, maybe more than that, around the far turn. Cold Truth gets a great trip for Keith Asmussen. He's 5 off the lead, and it's 5 back to Title Shot, and Town Champ is backed out of it. Town Champ was shuffled back leaving the backstretch, and he's gone. Top of the stretch with Arthurian and Drina Star. Here's Drina Star outside of Arthurian, and he's traveling nicely for Nick Juarez. So Drina Star and Arthurian kick on. They are 3 lengths now in front of Smile for Me, Lansdowne, and in the center, Grapnel, Arthurian, and Drina Star. Arthurian's back in front, and now he means business. Arthurian is 2 lengths in front. Drina Star is not going to be able to re-rally and get him. Grapnel and Town Champ to the outside, and look at Arthurian pour it on. This is win number 3 for the leading rider, Christian Torres. Arthurian, yes. Arthurian won by 7.5. Drina Star held off Grapnel for 2nd. Cold Truth was 4th.
Arthurian repeated what we saw last time from him on January 7th. Gets to the front, does not look back. He's got back-to-back wins now.
And you got to give Torres credit, and Paulie was talking about how well he's been riding. He went from the inside, and it's almost like all the other horses, the 6, 8, and 9, they all were afraid of each other. They thought maybe they were running this race at Naira for a second, and they decided to not be as aggressive as they normally are. And they all end up raiding, and Torres just said, okay, they don't want the lead. I'm good. And he went, and he just was able to bottom the field out. I think the surprising thing was how the race was ridden. Now, obviously, Town Champ, we talked about the voided claim. He was a total no-show in this race, but a very good ride by Torres. Good things happen when you're aggressive.
3 wins through the first 4 on the card for Christian Torres. He is the hot hand today, no question. We'll have those prices coming up. We talked top of the show about the Haynesfield. That is coming up in race 6 here, 1-turn mile. First of 100,000, 4-year-olds and up. And what do you think now? We all expect to be the horse controlling in here, and he proved on a muddy track that he could handle a mile 2 starts back.
But I think that's a very good point, Greg. We want to see if he can do it on a fast open track, not a Harrow track. On the other hand, in fairness, it's not as though this was a sealed track, and he's run well. I think he's faster than Seafoam, but I wonder if Seafoam is going to be more aggressive. If he's going to be in here, if he wants to win, he has to be more aggressive.
At least is going to make, what do you think now, have to work harder than he probably wants to.
And I worry about that. That is a 7-furlong race. I worry a little bit that going the mile, if he puts some pressure on him. Dr. Ardito, obviously dangerous. And I don't think Bankett's impossible. The one I think positive, if you like Bankett, he had to be taken out of his game a little bit the last 2 times because he needed to be more forward. If it ends up that Seafoam does put some pressure on, what do you think now? Maybe he can sit back a little more and make that run and run more to his comfortable running style.
Meanwhile, Dr. Ardito, Chad Brown, Manny Franco, he's been the pilot on board for all 6 starts. He's ruled off 5 consecutive wins after being defeated in the debut. Here's last time out, muddy track, going 7/8 off, a lengthy layoff as well to get up for the win.
He got a very good riding trip in this race, and all the dirty work was done by the horse inside, another Chad Brown horse, Nabokov. It bothers me Nabokov came back and did not run well on Saturday. It's hard to keep track. Today's Saturday, I think. That bothers me a little bit, but you can't knock the kind of figures he's running. David Aragona found a stat where Chad Brown in dirt stakes off a win, going Lasix off, his numbers haven't been very good. It is Lasix off. Now, overall, Chad Brown's numbers, Lasix on, Lasix off, are good. It hasn't really been relevant for his stats. Just a point of fact, though.
See if he can keep that streak alive. 5 straight. Dr. Ardito, this is going to be his toughest test yet. That is race 6 coming up on the card, so we'll get to that ahead on this special President's Day edition here of America's Day at the Races. Here's a look at what we have coming up, presented by Claiborne Farm. So races 5 through 8 here in New York, late pick 4. And then from Oaklawn, races 4 through 9, they're fast in Hot Springs as well, bringing that entire late pick 5. Difficult sequence today, including that last race. I thought wide open to end things
The last
out
at
at
Oaklawn?
Oaklawn.
Yeah, oh yeah, my head was spinning looking at the last race today. I agree. I have notes all over about just about every horse in the race. I agree.
You can play it all by getting signed up with Naira Bets. $200 deposit match sign-up bonus with that promo code match200, and bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Go to nairabets.com to get signed up and started. All right, here we go. Pick 4 time. Here in New York. New York bred maiden special weight, 6.5 furlong sprint. 3-2 on Northway, a first-time starter for trainer Ray Handel with Dylan Davis.
Well, it's kind of a battle of the 2 that have run that have a little bit of form, the 2 good Accelerate and the 7 Clover Street, who I preferred, and the first-time starters, notably the Force 5 and 6. The 6 Northway, not surprisingly, the one taking the most money, but I think some nibbles for the number 5 to be 5-1 as of now.
3-year-old fillies here, 3 of them making their debut. Let's head downstairs to Maggie Wolfendale.
Yeah, we'll check in with those debuters, at least 2 of them, the ones taking the bulk of the play, beginning with number 6 in here, Northway, as she is a sleek, elegantly put together filly by Bernardini. But with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually prefers a little bit more ground to work with than the 6.5 that she gets here. But the good thing is that she's sharp enough, at least in the way she's acting, to suggest that if she's good enough, she'll be effective going this distance first time out. She's got a lot of size to her. Yeah, there's some filling out that she could possibly do, but she is fit and ready to go. She looks really good here for Ray Handel, is wearing a Shatterall drop with a drop noseband, suggesting that, and it's kind of the way she's put together. She's put together really kind of evenly in her frame and not one that looks like she'd drop her head. So she probably has the propensity to want to run with her head a little bit elevated. Now, she has a decent pedigree. Obviously, the dam went 5 for 10. It was a multiple stakes winning New York bred. But to her inside is a filly that is taking some money that really doesn't have much pedigree to report home about. If anything, it's more of a turf pedigree, and I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't her preferred surface. But overall, I really like what I'm seeing from her. She's big, there's a lot of conditioning on her, and she is sharp. Now, I can't quite tell here in the paddock whether it's sharpness because she's going to be forward in this race or she's a little bit green. She's one I want to keep watching and how she behaves out on the racetrack, but there's a lot of her, and I appreciate that. She is wearing blinkers first time out here for Dave Donk. He's not one I necessarily am against when he runs his horses with blinkers first time out, but she's intriguing here, Greg.
Few new faces, including the 8-5 favorite in here for Ray Handel. Meanwhile, there's Clover Street, who is more experienced than anybody in this group. She's making her 4th career start. She was in the New York Stallion Series stake the last time we saw her to end her 2-year-old campaign. Pick 4 coming up when we return on America's Day at the Races.
Undefeated Grade 1 winner Mastery was a multiple graded stakes winner at 2, including this victory in the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Cash Call Futurity. On the track, his recent top runners include these star performers.
Surprisingly
Back with you on America's Day at the Races. It's brought to you in part by legendary Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. We have the pick 4 next at Aqueduct. Gonna have our post parade here momentarily. Now let's take a look at the filly we showed you going to break, Clover Street. Trained by Mark Hennig. This will be the 3-year-old debut for her coming up. And Jason Huayas, the apprentice, already has a win on today's card, will ride.
Yeah, he's kind of picking up the mantle now as the leading apprentice with Jose Gomez losing his bug. And I guess, I don't like to get caught up with the fast track, wet tracks, but I do feel that as far as wet tracks, sealed tracks are a bit different. If you get a wet track that's harrowed, I think it's closer to fast. But when you get those sealed tracks, you will get some horses and have some issues handling it. And you can't really argue that this horse ran significantly better in this race when finishing third, when it was the only time he ran on a fast harrowed track. He only ran on muddy sealed tracks before that. And also, this was a day where being forward towards the lead in front was very advantageous, and he made a very good run at the end. We see a fair track now. So I prefer him. I tend to lean to horses with experience, Greg, just because I like the experience. I think it's a big edge. And first-time starters are often kind of sexy to people. They think they know something, and the money kind of piles on. But the reality is that a decent firster will probably win this race.
And often we get that information a little more readily when it's warmer out. We're up upstate in Saratoga. Word tends to get out a little more there.
Well, there's nothing worse than information up in Saratoga, right? I mean, that's like the key to losing money at the racetrack is to get tips in Saratoga.
I have a great story about a tip. I'll tell it to you later when we have time. Good accelerate the 2. So 9-2. Here's another one with experience. At least move forward in start number 2. Still would probably need a little bit better here.
Yeah, I mean, he ran fine that day, to be fair. He also got a very good trip, unlike the number 7 Clover Street, the race we talked about, where he was closing on a day when being forward was advantageous. This was a day the rail was very good, and he spent the majority of the race on the inside, so I think he was helped by that. But to be fair, he still ran fast enough to get it done. Assuming the first can't run, I just prefer Clover Street, but I picked him third.
9-2 on that filly. And our 9-5 favorite still the 6 here, Northway. You see those prices from Oakland Arthurian, $9.40 for the win. Drina Star there wound up second. We'll get into the pick 5 coming up when we return there. 70,000 meanwhile on this pick 4 here in New York. And
I'm going to get involved.
Northway, first time starter.
I am
9-5 favorite.
Craig, I'm going to single in race number 7. I'm going to take a small shot and single horse that's, I think, 10 or 12 to 1 on the morning line, and that's the number 6 Practical Coach.
No burn for you.
I'm just going to take a small shot and try to put myself in a position to hit the pick 4, have a good chance to hit the pick 4 if that horse should win. That's my plan.
Butch Reed. Oh, yeah, I thought that horse had a chance.
He's just been so good shipping horses here, hasn't he?
Yeah, no burn. We'll get to that race coming up. Obviously a dominant win last time out, but a horse who twice this year has been a vet scratch.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, in general, his form has been amazing for going on a year. And I think the one-turn mile, is very advantageous for him.
Post parade coming up. And we're going to see Good Accelerate here in just a moment when they come onto the racetrack. There's the 2. Good Samaritan filly who debuted at Laurel and then moved forward in a state-bred maiden special here in New York.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. This horse, I don't know. I guess he's live. I'm not really that familiar with this trainer, Greg, for better or for worse.
Yeah, Kelly Dieter sending this one out. Big prices, first 2 starts of the career. Bandaloo Queen, Rachel Sells trains, even bigger numbers the first 2 starts.
Yeah, this is the one that's run that just doesn't appear on paper to be a likely contender.
Here we go with the first-timers, Bushwick for Jimmy Ferraro.
Yeah, listen, Jimmy's a dangerous trainer, but this is much more of a turf pedigree.
Harlan's Bond, David Donk sends out for the debut.
I think this one could be a little bit dangerous here, taking some nibbles at 9-2. You don't see Dave's horses get bet that heavily first time out.
This first-timer has been favored pretty much throughout for Ray Handel, the 6.
Yeah, and where there's smoke, there's fire with Ray. He's good with first-time stars, and this one has the best pedigree.
And the experience with that race you mentioned on the fast track was the best race she produced. She'll get a fast track today.
Yeah, and I'm going to hope this horse appreciates fast track and also gets first time's Lasix.
And she now becomes the favorite, Clover Street, the 7. Want to remind everyone watching on the program this afternoon, you can play along, get all the stats on the horses, jockeys, trainers by downloading free Equibase past performances. Get yours at NYRA.com/TV schedule and play along. Post time coming up here for the 5th. Let's go back down to Maggie.
And we'll check in with Clover Street. I completely agree with what Andy's saying. The fact that she gets back on a fast track today really should suit her. Now, there's nothing necessarily physically that suggests that this is better, other than she is a bit of a bigger, heavier girl. She did get a little warm in the paddock, and weirdly, as her horse started at NYRA, I've never seen her. So I don't know how she typically is, but I did want to mention that she's got a little hot around the collar, just seemed a little bit nervous. As we'll check in with number 4, Bushwick. No nerves about her in her debut. She's calm, cool, collected, professional. You see her warming up. Looks good. Actually, she moved up a little bit once I watched her warm up. I didn't particularly like her in the paddock, as she's a little bit on the smaller, unassuming side, but very healthy, just a little bit soft. Just gave me the feeling that a race would really put her where she needs to be. But Tamara Cruz, the sire here, actually, it's a small sample size, but is hitting with 21% of his 3-year-old and up first-time starters. The dam was a better turf horse. The siblings, though, have handled the dirt, and it actually goes back to a lovely Phipps pedigree, in which the 3rd dam is the great inside information. Now, just want to also talk about number 5, Harlan's Bond. Again, as I mentioned, couldn't quite tell if it was greenness or sharpness more so. She was green with the pony. Like I said, I think she's intriguing, but not one I necessarily want to take first time out, especially here on the dirt, Greg.
All right, Maggie, thanks. 9-5 favorite. It's back to Clover Street here. That 4 Bushwick, I thought, made her once on the track, as Maggie said, really seemed to perk up a little bit. 8-1 right now.
I like that Maggie brought up that the 3rd dam was inside information. I had seen that too and forgotten it. And I love seeing those Phipps pedigrees, because the Phippses have sold more horses at sales. So you're seeing them turning up in pedigrees for non-Phipps horses. And it remains that there's a lot of value to them. Now, obviously, this horse doesn't appear to have been sold at public auction, but I'll be more interested in seeing that horse in the turf going forward, but you never know, and the horse is taking a little bit of money right now. Frankly, the board has barely moved since the beginning, Greg.
Yeah, and look, those who have run, obviously the 7 Clover Street is the one with the experience. I get maybe the 2, you can say, last time out as well, but it didn't show a whole lot. It's not going to take a big effort to best what those 2 have done so far.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer horses that ran, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it's not going to take a particularly good first-time starter to win this. I don't like the fact the 6 is no longer favored, because I think if they really like the 6 here, that horse would be favored. I could be wrong, but Ray Handel's horses, they will get bet. You know, we'll see him get bet in Saratoga. And if you're taking money in Saratoga, you're definitely going to take money in February at Aqueduct.
Pick 4 up and over 100,000. It starts in this race here. It includes our Haynesfield, which is coming up next with What Do You Think Now? Dr. Ardito and the Millionaire Banquet. As we see the 3 Bandaloo Queen, biggest price on the board. Only one really being dismissed, about to step in. 8-5 favorite, so public has settled on that filly there in the background. Well, in the middle, I guess I should say, the 7, Clover Street, for trainer Mark Hennig. Jason Huayas, 3-year-old debut for her coming up.
Yeah, I prefer Clover Street. 8-5 is not doing enough for me, though. I thought maybe they'd go a little bit crazier on the firsters, but that's where I went.
Here's the firster that opened as the favorite and had been the favorite throughout most of the wagering until the final stages here. Dylan Davis meets leading rider for Ray Handel on the 6. We're set for the pick 4. Let's go upstairs to Chris Griffin for the call.
All in line. All set. And they're off. Breaking a little outward was Clover Street, but did break very well. It's Clover Street who's now trying to cross over, but it's going to be hung out wide. At the rail, there's Good Accelerate, who's in the early mix. Right to the outside, here comes Harlan's Bond. They're 1-2. Just off of them is Northway. After that break, now Clover Street and Wyeth, they've settled into the 4th position. As to the outside there of Bushwick, who's second to last, and the early trailer Bandaloo Queen. It's Harlan's Bond up front. Harlan's Bond has got the lead, went 23.33 for the opening quarter mile. Northway is stalking right there in second. Now straightening up. Here comes Clover Street, and Clover Street is making a 3-wide launch, is coming after the leader quickly. Good Accelerate has now lost some ground to the inside there, and it's far back to the rest. Bushwick is losing ground, about to be passed by Bandaloo Queen, but it's 3 up front. To the inside, it's Harlan's Bond. In between horses, Northway and an oncoming Clover Street moves closer. Here comes the move from Clover Street at 8-5 is approaching a quarter mile left to go. Down to the inside, still battling on. There comes Harlan's Bond, is trying to come back to the inside, and Harlan's Bond will not go away. It's now Clover Street and Harlan's Bond. They're 1-2 head and head as they approach the final 8th. Harlan's Bond is very game to the inside. Clover Street is trying to push on by. Still shoulder to shoulder here for a final 16th. Will Clover Street get it? Harlan's Bond to the inside. Harlan's Bond back in front. Clover Street one more time. Harlan's Bond game in victory. Harlan's Bond over Clover Street. Then came Northway and Good Accelerate in 1 minute 20.76 seconds.
First-time starter Harlan's Bond. Clover Street, much more experienced in a duel down the stretch, and it's the first-timer that pulls away. We're going to take a look at a little closer here, see if there's anything down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly drifting, because you can see they're basically in about the 1.5 and 2.5 path here, and they definitely finish up at about the 5 to 6 path. Whether or not he came out and herded or benched, I don't know. You know, we don't adjudicate herding around here. We think it should be legal. It shouldn't be. I don't know that anything happened. We'll try to see if we can get the head on. But hey, Dave Donk had this horse ready to go. You knew right away when this horse went to the lead that he was going to be tough today.
5-7-6-2 unofficially. So here's a look, and we'll get a better idea of if this 5 came out significantly into the 7.
Yeah, I mean, right now, as you see, they're in like the 1.5 and 3 path maybe or so. And now you see the rider, that was Vargas, go to the left-hand stick, and he's coming out a little bit there. Now, there's no contact, and around here, you can push a horse over the outside fence, but if you don't touch him, but this is really meaningless. There's no real herding. No, nothing. Even in my world where I don't like herding, he didn't do anything there.
6-1, Harlan's Bond, debut victory. David Donk, first time out. Jorge Vargas Jr. aboard for the victory, 6-1 upset.
So this guy was ready to go, and you know, Dave Donk's a trainer that's times doesn't win a lot of firsters, but he can, and he did.
We're going to take a timeout. Haynes Field is next. What do you think now? Back in action, 9 for 20 lifetime, trying to make it 3 consecutive victories. Tough test ahead in this field of 5.
In the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, he defeated a loaded field that included multiple Grade 1 winners Omaha Beach and Improbable. His brilliant speed figures were among the fastest of any 3-year-old at a mile or more. And he hails from the legendary Danzig sire line. Multiple graded stakes winner, millionaire, Breeders' Cup champion, spun to run, standing at Gainesway.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Nairo Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions. And offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Nairo Bets.
Consistently versatile with 25 Grade 1 winners on every surface from 6 furlongs to 1.25 miles all over the world.
Switzerland in the Dubai Golden Shaheen. Switzerland wins.
Churls Fight running on. Mason in front. Churls Fight on the outside. At the wire. Photo for the win.
Olympiad gets the gold in the Jockey Club Gold Cup.
All purpose, all places, all power. Speightstown.
Would you believe that champions weren't measured by rings, but by a crown? That the history books were written on dirt? That the greatest of all time was a horse?
He is moving like a tremendous machine.
Experience the magic at this year's Belmont Stakes as we honor the 50th anniversary of Secretariat's legendary Triple Crown Triumph. Join the celebration at Belmont Park on Saturday, June 10th. Tickets on sale now at BelmontStakes.com.
Back with you on America's Day at the Races on FS2. It's brought to you in part where you can play it all at NYRA Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime at NYRABets.com. Look back to the start of this late pick 4 on this President's Day card. First-time starter Harlan's Bond, ready to go in the debut for trainer David Donk.
Yeah, nice to see Dave get another win here, and the horse ran well. Repelled the 7, no excuse for the 7. I thought Weyes worked out a very good trip on him. He was able to get in that position. He did everything right on him. He just kind of hung, and he was outgained by the 5. The 5 just would not go away, Greg. Nice performance by the debuter. She looked okay. And they put a lot of distance between themselves and the others in this race.
Yes, they did. Long way back to 3rd. So picture time for the connections of this filly by Good Samaritan, who David Donk owns a piece of as well. $14.20 for the win.
Excellent. Like to see Dave get the win. Hopefully, take a look at the figs look like. Hopefully, bigger and better things for this one.
Early pick 5, over $2,800. We'll set up that Haynes field in a moment. It's back to Hot Springs. And their late pick 5 coming up in the next race. 6 furlong sprint to begin it. $40,000 maiden claiming race. And the 3, the 5, they look like the 2 standouts here, Paulie.
Yeah, they do, Greg. I mean, it looks like the 3 in here. When you look at this race, the 3 and the 5, obviously Steve Ashton's still going for that 10,000th win. But this is a horse that is putting blinkers on, that has shown speed in the past. And it's kind of one of my play against. But when you look at this race, I can understand why the horse is the favorite. I'm a little surprised that the horse is 6-5 compared to the 5. I thought the 5 would actually be the favorite, taking the blinkers off. But, you know, the issue that I have is I understand they could be cheater blinkers. This horse did drift out in his last effort. It's the first time he had done that. And it's all the way in November. He comes back with a little bit of cheater blinkers on. I don't know. At 6-5, if he wins the race, I just can't play this horse at 6-5 just because it's just against a lot of things for me. When a horse has speed already, why do you need to put blinkers on? Life on the Nile is the other horse in here. I mean, blinkers go on. They're betting the race 2, 3, 5, 6. And I think what they're thinking is if the 3 and the 5 go at it, you know, and the 2, Infiltrator for Mikel Michelle and D. Wayne Lucas. This is a $220,000 purchase that it's been running unbelievable times in the mornings, bullets after bullets. This horse outworked 146 horses that day on January 15th, and D. Wayne decides to debut for 40. So the 2 could show some speed, the 3 could show some speed, the 5 could show some speed. So I thought the 6, Cyclone, cutting back, had a big shot to maybe pick up some pieces in here. And I also think the 7 at 19-1 is not the longest, play in the board. I don't know if he can win this race, but he kind of woke up in his last race, haven't been off since May. And if the pace gets hot at 19-1, I think he can hit the board, but we might see history here at Oaklawn Park.
We just may. 10,000, 1 win away. Steve Asmussen from that incredible number in his training career. And we'll see if Bet He's Ready the 3 can get him there. Here's what Steve Asmussen has in this afternoon to try and get to that enormous number. Plenty of chances. Field coming up as well with Bankit.
What was can you remember? I can't. What the number was when he won in Saratoga.
I believe it was 9,446.
So in a year and a half, because it's almost exactly a year, a little over a year and a half, maybe a couple weeks, he's won 550 races.
It's several years. He had a couple of years where he won, I thought, 650 in a year.
And while winning all those races at multiple tracks, he also never misses a word that any of us say on TV. He's really the most incredible multitasker in the history of horse racing. He's unbelievable. I mean, obviously he gets a lot of help and things, but
don't let anything slip through
I don't
the
think
cracks.
Steve's missing much, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it was 9,446, and we had that on our air at Saratoga a couple summers ago.
And one thing about Steve, he runs his horses. You know, I asked him a question this summer if he had skipped a race for this horse intentionally or if there was an issue, and he looked at me and said, "Me? Skip a race?" He just, listen, and that's great, you know. Steve's horses run. I guess Gunite went over to Saudi.
Okay.
I believe went over there. I mean, is there an argument that he's the best sprinter in the country right now? Potentially. Who would be his chief rival? Is elite?
He's sort of a tweener, though, isn't he?
No, I honestly think,
You think
and I'll bet
really?
you that Steve, after Jackie's Warrior lost the sprint, he probably said to myself, I wish I could have run him against Gunite against him. I really do. I think that he would have been much, much more effective in that sprint. And it's a very typical Steve Asmussen horse, a horse that just got better over time. Because Gunite was a little inconsistent, obviously won the hopeful, but, didn't have best efforts. But, I mean, he turned into a monster by the end of the year.
No, he really did. But, yeah, a little bit. Very good at 7, up to a mile. Is 6 his best? I don't know.
I don't know if it's his best,
Yeah.
but I think he can be as good at 6. I mean, I don't know if it's 6 and I know the turf sprint at Saudi is 6 3/4. Our friend Lee Einseiler will be there with Casa Creed, who finished 3rd in it last year. He mentioned the horse who won the race he thought was coming back. We'll, of course, be covering those races.
Coming up on Saturday.
On
yeah.
Saturday, a week from 5 days from today.
I mean, there's Steve Asmussen's horse at 3. Just think about that number for him. I mean, no one in the sport has gotten to 10,000. It's incredible, and he has a lot of years left to go. This horse, Paul mentioned it. This horse is already quick, probably already the quickest horse in the race. Why do you putting blinkers on?
I don't know. He's
How
won
do you see it?
9,999 races. I'm not going to question when he makes a trip blinkers. I'll question everybody. I'm going to let that one go.
No, do
I'm
you like
kidding.
him in here?
Yeah, I agree with Paulie. Basically, I mean, I thought the 6 if you want
No,
to.
he didn't like the 3.
Oh, he doesn't? I thought he was gone. I thought he was gone and very much the likeliest winner of this race. I'm not saying I'm going to bet him at 4 to 5, but I think he's horse to beat. I don't think there should be as big a disparity in odds between him and the 5 Life of the Nile.
I agree.
Life of the Nile's better value at 5 to 2. I'd rather bet him.
See if it's number 10,000 for Steve Asmussen here with the 3. Bet he's ready. First of several chances, at least on our air this afternoon.
We could be jinxing him. We can't say because he set the record with us on the air, so it's not
Or
our
good
fault.
luck for him. Let's go to Vic Stauffer for the call. Start of the late pick
Only
5.
place he ran twice was here, American Pharoah. They're at the post. They're off. Bet he's ready. Catches a flyer and goes right to the front from Contrabandista and Life on the Nile. Cyclone is next, then Infiltrator, Unstable Prince in 8 straight. And the trailer is Texas Pharaoh, and the leader is Bet He's Ready. Ricardo Santana Jr. and Bet He's Ready. A length and a quarter in front of Life on the Nile in second. Then it's a lineup of 5 horses, 8 straight, Infiltrator, Cyclone, Contrabandista, and a 6-wide Unstable Prince. Texas Pharaoh is just in behind them. Leaving the backstretch, Bet He's Ready is traveling beautifully. Bet He's Ready, less than 3 furlongs from the wire, with a 2.5 length lead on Life in the Nile in second. Unstable Prince and Cyclone are next. Then it's 3 lengths further back to 8 straight. Infiltrator has dropped out. Here's Life on the Nile outside Bet He's Ready. Bet He's Ready turns into the stretch with a length and a half. Life on the Nile has every chance to run him down. Bet He's Ready, final furlong. Life on the Nile trying to forge on by. Bet He's Ready, still a length and a half in front. Life on the Nile is second. Bet He's Ready. Life on the Nile. History at Oaklawn Park. Racing immortality for Steve Asmussen. Win number 10,000. Bet He's Ready. How about that? Bet He's Ready beat Life on the Nile, Cyclone, and Unstable Prince.
Winningest trainer, North American history already. Now number 10,000. It comes right here with Bet He's Ready for Steve Asmussen.
I imagine Steve is just breathing a sigh of relief, as is Ricardo Santana, riding him. But Ricardo did what you had to do. Put the horse in the front end, and she did the rest, or he did the rest, excuse me. I want to say it's a she because it's Betty's. Sounds like Betty. I get it wrong all the time anyway. The 5-horse Life of the Nile chase, but too much of a pace advantage. It's just not good enough.
We talked about this horse going in. Already looked like he was the quickest horse in the field. Then he was adding blinkers. Their intentions were clear. Get to the front, and it was over from there. 10,000 victories, the only in the history of this sport to get it to that remarkable number. And, as we've said, he has a long career ahead of him.
Right. I mean, records are made to be broken. But as you're accurately saying, who knows how many more years he could be training. And to put together an operation like Steve has, I know you've got Brad Cox, but Steve's got horses at all these tracks and stuff. And I just think it's a very daunting task to even be able to do that. So to get a trainer that can win, I mean, let's put it this way. To win 10,000 races, you win 300 races a year. you've got to do it for 35 years, 33 years plus to get there. It's almost inconceivable because he's probably going to be at 13,000 or so by the time he retires. Who knows where he'll be?
Well, he's got a chance for 10,001 coming up in this race here in the Haynesfield. Bankit will be in action. Got to beat this horse, though, among a couple others. That's Dr. Ardito for Chad Brown. He's reeled off 5 consecutive victories. Manny Franco has been aboard for all of them. He'll be back aboard today. More on the Haynesfield when we come back.
Whatever you use to predict future stallion success, breathe slowly and gaze at the desert's first great championship race. Curlin won it. So did Street Cry, Arrogate, and now, in a time even faster than Arrogate's, Mystic Guide. The cold hard fact is, after this, he was rated the best horse in the world. Mystic Guide. New to Darley.
Back with you on America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage. Haynesfield is coming up next. Horse, as Andy pointed out, trained by Steve Asmussen, who we just saw get the 10,000th win of his career. This is one of the biggest moments for Haynesfield in his career. Jumped out to the front in a race against Blame in the Jockey Club Gold Cup and never looked back.
In fact, I'm going to say this was Blame's only loss in a streak that started perhaps in the Curlin the year before at Saratoga, and I'm almost sure it was the only loss in a year where he should have been the horse of the year. But Haynesfield was a tough customer, and he was able to control in this race. Blame used it as a stepping stone for bigger and better things, but Haynesfield was one cool New York bred.
Do you remember Tom Durkin's call, part of his call? Ramon Dominguez, like a statue in the stirrups. One of 506 wins that year for Steve Asmussen.
It was kind of an off year for him. He must have sat out or something. Amazing. And of course, Toby Sheets, who trains the horses in New York and has done such a great job for Steve in New York. And there's Toby, looking a lot younger. We were all a lot younger then. I was a lot thinner. And there's, of course, the great Ramon Dominguez. Always loved seeing Ramon. He just a great jockey and a great person as well. Loved seeing him, but he was an amazingly great rider.
That was the shining moment in his career, Haynesfield. This year's edition for this one-turn mile, and there is Dr. Ardito, 4-5 favorite right now.
They can't resist all the wins, Chad Brown, all these things. I picked this horse, and I knew he'd be overbet. I probably shouldn't have.
Heavily overbet. Let's head downstairs to Maggie Wolfendale.
Well, first things first, let's just speak about this group as a whole. They are a true testament to how far the New York bred program has come and how influential it is nowadays, and that this is about the best looking group of horses that I've seen all winter long here at Aqueduct, and I would say that even if it was the summer up in Saratoga. These are some talented New York breds. Obviously, we have the Millionaire in here, but let's first check in with the up-and-comer, so to speak, who is taking all the money, as Dr. Ardito, number 4 in here, is second off of a layoff. Now, last time when he was in an open company allowance race and off of the extended break, yet again, I thought he just looked as though he needed a race to tuck up, but he gritted out and valiantly persevered to win by a head, and he certainly has gotten what he's needed out of that effort. I like the fact that he comes back, just a month later, so he's pairing these races up back to back. Good energy in here, bright demeanor, and if things shape up on paper out on the racetrack the way they look to, then he's going to be the one that's sitting the right kind of trip, and I love the fact that he gets an extra furlong to play with today. But if we want to talk about the best looking horse in the paddock on the day, that's going to go to the Millionaire Bankit. I don't love the fact that he was outfinished for second by Market Alert, who we'll actually see in the next race in their last meeting together. And what do you think now? Was able to wire the field. But I like too that he's getting an extra furlong. He's just a horse that has proven throughout his career that he prefers more ground, and he looks sensational here. He's such a proud horse. The way he struts around the paddock, and he always wears his best suit to the races, and that he always looks tremendous. And relative to his competition today, he at least looks best here in the paddock, Greg.
All right, Maggie, thank you. 5-2 on the 7-year-old Millionaire. 1.27 million in earnings for this guy who has had some huge moments, just missed in this race. Last year on a wet track against my boy Tate. It seems like his best races, though, appear to be behind him. What do you think?
Yeah, well, from a speed figure standpoint, he's just not running the kind of numbers that he used to run. The one thing I would say is that because of situations, they've taken him somewhat out of his game and been much more aggressive with him. And it's obviously worked out reasonably well, but I wonder if it's also maybe made him run a little bit slower than some of his better races. And listen, I'm not sure he'll be able to be taken out of it again, not taken out of it again today. But if Seafoam is more aggressive and he could sit back in third, and make that one run, maybe he could run his faster race. Horses like this are always dangerous because they're old pros,
Here's Full Moon Fever to kick off the post parade, trained by Mark Hennig. Eric Cancel rides.
He's actually an improved horse. He's just in too tough a spot today.
Can't imagine you're going to get this price, but this is the horse to catch. He's trying to win 3 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, the board is wacky, and it's wacky that he's the third choice, but he's going to have to get the mile and do it on a fast track.
It's the only horse potentially that can put any pressure on the 2.
I have to think their plan is to go today. Otherwise, I don't know why they're in the race.
5 straight for Dr. Ardito, chained by Chad Brown.
But he's getting a class test here. He's run fast races. He makes a lot of sense, but these are much better horses than he's ever faced.
And here's the old veteran Millionaire, Bankit, who Maggie was talking about.
Maggie likes the way he looks. His form has been okay. I agree with you, Greg. His best races are behind him. But I still think you get yourself in trouble just discounting horses like this.
Well, this horse here, what do you think now? 9-time winner, over $500,000 in earnings. He's going to be in front, leading the way, assuming he gets out of the gate clean. And he's looking to win his 3rd in a row. He handled a mile, as we talked about, on a muddy, sealed track back in mid-December.
I think it's more just going to come down to pace, and this is his last race on a dry track, say Florida Sandy, where he beat Market Alert. This was one where the pace completely held together. The track seems very fair today. We've seen speed do okay, but we've seen closers do okay. So I don't think he gets any advantage from the racetrack, but a lot is going to, we'll see how fast that first quarter is. If he's got to go at 23 and 1 or 2 first quarter, 46 and change second half, I think he could be in some trouble. But if he gets away with a close to 24 and 47 and change, he's probably going to win.
And this can't hold up. His price actually floating up.
It's
He's
ridiculous.
4-1 right now.
He's dead on the board. They know. They do often know, Greg. I don't know how they know, but they know.
He is 3rd choice in the doubles.
He is, wow.
For what it's worth, wow. Could look back on this and say, how in the world did I get 4-1 on what do you think now? 3-5.
Kind of amazing, right?
Public in love with Dr. Ardito and that 5-race win streak. Let's take a look at him in action. He was off from May 15th until January 19th. This was the comeback race, 7 furlongs on a muddy sealed track. and he just kept coming and ran down a stablemate.
Yeah, now Nabokov really ran the better race. He did all the dirty work. That Lynn Cash horse sort of circled him. He came back on in that one, and Nabokov did not come back and run well. But listen, this was off a long layoff, and Dr. Ardito did what he's basically done his whole career. He showed up.
Got beaten his debut when he was favored. He has not lost since.
He's an impossible horse to knock, but
he's not flashy the way he does it either, as you saw in that race.
And listen, he is way overbet, and I picked him, but he's way overbet at 3-5, Greg. This is a big test.
Bordering on, at this point, maybe the most overbet horse of the meet to this point.
Well, I'm starting to get the feeling that, like, somebody knows that What Do You Think Now can't win, right? How is he third choice in the doubles? And he's, hovering up there, so it's almost like they don't like him at all. But I still am not sure if it comes down to Dr. Ardito and Bankett that he has to beat Bankett. And I don't think he's 3 times as likely to win.
First time in stakes company for Dr. Ardito, second off the bench for the Chad Brown running with Manny Franco. Let's go back down to Maggie.
Let's check in with that horse that is awfully chilly on the board. I'm glad it's not chilly out here today. It's actually a lovely February day. So I definitely picked the right day to be outside. But what do you think now? He looked like a bull in a china shop when he showed up for the Say Florida Sandy. And his coat was resplendent, looked like it was the middle of summer for him, and he was just breathing fire. Today, I noticed, doesn't look as good in his coat, was a little bit more subdued in the paddock, and just really took quite a while to warm up, to be honest, out on the racetrack. And I really think that, though, 2 back in the Alex M. Robb, he ran a good figure, and it was a good effort going a mile. I just don't think a mile is his gig. Now, I have a lot of love for him, and I'm not going to be surprised if he wins here, but he's just not making as good of an impression as he has in his last few efforts. But we'll see. It's a little tough to take number 4, Dr. Ardito, at 4-5. So I'm going to go with the paddock pick, Greg, and side with Bankett.
The old veteran. All right, thank you, Maggie. We'll see how he runs this afternoon here, looking for another stakes victory. He's been great at stakes placed in his past. 1.27 million in earnings. There he is. Won the beauty pageant, according to Maggie. Jose Lezcano rides for Steve Asmussen and Mr. 10,000.
I think it's really cool that Steve just won his 10,000th, and then right away we're running the Haynesfield, a race named for a horse that he trained. I think it's very cool, and maybe he'll get 10,001, and I think we're all in agreement that we'll be talking about his 11,000th win at some point.
Probably very quickly.
Kind of getting boring for Steve, I'm sure he's obviously very proud, as he should be, but I'm sure he's also relieved. Especially after a couple of days of it. Right? What do you go, about 2 for 40 or something? It's like every time you get around one of those records, you suddenly start stalling, right?
He had a couple of years where he won 650 races in 2009. 2008, the year before that, he'd won 621 races.
Almost 2 races a day, 7 days a week. Think about that.
It's just remarkable. And here is Bankett for him, for connections that he has had such tremendous success with, including 3-year-old championship last year with Epicenter, Travers Win, Winchell Thoroughbreds. Let's see if Bankett can come up with the goods one more time here. And
really
he may
amazing.
just get the perfect trip in this spot. We'll see how much pressure. Keep your eyes on the 3 Seafoam, Jorge Vargas Jr., and how much they press the 2. What do you think now his price has come down?
Yeah, he's now the second choice, so it's different than the doubles, and the money is coming in him late. We'll see how relevant. But I think a lot is going to depend on whether or not Seafoam is aggressively ridden. If he is, that could be very, very bad for What Do You Think Now, and good for Bankett and Dr. Ardito.
So the speedsters stepped in. What do you think now? There's the one that might try and put some pressure on him. Dr. Ardito, the 4. Still odds on. There's the gray. That 5-race win streak on the line in his stakes debut. Coming up in the Haynesfield. Let's go to Chris Griffin for the call.
And they're off. What do you think now has early speed? Also, there is going to be Seafoam in between horses. It's going to be Seafoam to take it right to What Do You Think Now? They're a clear 1-2. Off of them is Dr. Ardito is there with Bankit. They're going to share that 3rd and 4th position, and the trailer is Full Moon Fever, who's already 7 lengths off the lead, and it's a pace duel up front. Seafoam and What Do You Think Now? They take it right to each other, and they went 22-4 for a very quick opening quarter. Neither will relent here as they work up the backstretch, and Bankit gets perfect stalking position from 3rd. Moving forward, here comes Bankit, is now within 3 of the battling duo. Losing some ground was Dr. Ardito, is just following that move from Bankit, and Full Moon Fever's got the pace to chase is the trailer as they get set to work into the far turn. They reach the half-mile pole. What Do You Think Now? And Seafoam. They went 46 seconds flat for that half-mile time. Bankit is looming up on the outside. Here comes the run from Dr. Ardito. Full Moon Fever is launching a wide rally as well. Any one of the 5 can win it here in the Haynesfield as they approach a quarter mile left to go. The 2 pace setters start to back out of it. What Do You Think Now? And Seafoam. They duel each other into defeat. Here comes Bankit up on the outside, and Bankit and Dr. Ardito have now sprinted on. It is Bankit to the inside. Dr. Ardito, Full Moon Fever is trying to catch them both. As they approach a final furlong, they are shoulder to shoulder. It's Bankit with a neck in front. Dr. Ardito is right up alongside, a 16th to go. Bankit to the inside. Dr. Ardito to the outside. Dr. Ardito now with a head in front. Bankit tries to come back here at the line. Dr. Ardito over Bankit in a nice stretch drive. Full Moon Fever finished 3rd in 1 minute 37.86 seconds in the Haynesfield.
Dr. Ardito does it again, make it 6 straight, and now 3 wins in a row by very narrow margins.
That was a terrific race in so many different ways. Obviously, they decided to be aggressive with Seafoam. Once you saw that, and we talked about the pace, they went 22 and 4:46. That was going to make it very, very hard for the speeds to have anything to do with the finish. So now you know it's going to come down to Bankit and Dr. Ardito. And Dr. Ardito, congrats to him, his connections, getting the job done. But I'll tell you what, Bankit fought him as hard as you could to the wire. Dr. Ardito, a very nice win. Overbet at 4-5, but he gets the win. But the old pro Bankit, and I think, you know, Greg, as we were talking about before the race, with a much better setup where he didn't have to be as forward, he probably did run one of his better figures. Cool horse, Bankit.
About a nose in the end, Dr. Ardito. And, you know, it's always fun to see when a horse can put together streaks like this. And stepping up, it's the toughest test he's ever had in terms of the horses he's faced. And he answers the call.
I think a couple horses that Chad Brown have, this horse in that situation reminds me of. One is Zevo, who was a New York bred sort of going nowhere, and he got better, and he ended up winning our Suburban. I think he won 7 straight, a New York bred. He's now I think a lead pony for Cherie DeVoe. And also Last Gunfighter, a horse he took over the training of, and he went through and won 7 straight races moving up. He's not dissimilar to that. It's very, very hard to keep these streaks alive because the culling gets tougher every time you run.
Manny Franco's been aboard for each and every win in those silks of Michael Dubb, owned by Michael Caruso as well, and a talented son of Liam's Map. 6 straight wins for Dr. Ardito. Wins at 4-5 here, 4-5-1-2. Bankit second, 16-1 shot. Full Moon Fever able to pick up pieces there in 3rd. Back at Oaklawn, 10,000 victories for the Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen. And number 10,000 comes with Bet He's Ready, Gate to Wire under Ricardo Santana Jr. Let's go to Paula Duca.
With winning trainer here, Steve Asmussen, who gets his 10,000th win here at Oaklawn. You were talking about this has been a family affair. Just take me through your emotions right now, Steve.
Very much. It's they're living it with you, and you can really feel it. And it's just what's made racing so special to me my whole career. You know, from when I worked for my parents, and you're all in. You know, and for obviously we were hung up on 99 there for quite some time, and it was just beautiful how everybody stays on the same page, and it came through, you know, and lucky enough to be able to celebrate it with my beautiful wife Julie and the boys here today.
The boys were staring at that sign. Another thing that was pretty amazing to me, the first person that hugged you was D. Wayne Lukas. What did that mean to you, Steve?
Unbelievable. You know, my family and Wayne go back since I was an infant. And horse racing is beautiful like that. And when you go through it, you trials and tribulations just persevere, and I think Wayne's a great example of get up and go to work, and the rest will work out.
10,000 wins is an unbelievable accomplishment, Steve. Congratulations. Ricardo Santana, by the way, his 700th win here at Oaklawn.
Paulie, nice work there, and good to hear from a trainer. We may never see this number again in this sport, but he's going to continue to add to it for a long time to come. We had him on our air, Saratoga Live, when he got the record breaker, 9,446, and now we get him on the air again with number 10,000. Cool moment.
I mean, it's hard to catch a guy that's not stopping. He's a speed horse with stamina.
And no end in sight. Historic number 10,000 in the Hall of Fame career of Steve Asmussen. We'll be back right after this.
Here comes Malafa. Here comes Clairiere on the outside, and it's going to be Clairiere. Nest, much the best. She won by better than 10 lengths.
And Elite Power gets up to win the sprint outside. It's Malafa coming to the wire. Who's it going to be? Here's the wire. Oh, the wish has come true. That one's for you, Cody.
Now more than ever, it's time to get with the program. When shopping for your next race prospect, consider that New York breds start with an advantage. Our New York breds run for serious green. At Saratoga Race Meet, New York bred maidens run for up to $88,000. New York bred allowance horses run for up to $100,000. And New York bred owners can collect awards of up to $20,000 per horse per race. So get back with the program. Seriously.
Adelphi Racing Club, offering a truly personal racing experience.
I would just say that it's a smaller, tighter-knit group. Everybody has a common interest. We spend a lot more time together than some of the bigger operations, and I very much enjoy that.
We're not just a syndicate, and our members aren't just investors. We are partners. Contact us to get a taste of the Adelphi Racing experience, and let's win races together.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back with you on America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage. Just witnessed history with Steve Asmussen getting number 10,000 in his Hall of Fame career. Got his first win, by the way. Ruidoso Downs, 1986. Here's a look at the next out in Hot Springs, race 6. Non-winners at 2 Life, $12,000 claiming race, 6 furlongs coming up, and our colleague Lapis Lazuli just claimed by Tom Amoss. That's the horse to beat. Let's go to Paul LaDuca.
Yeah, Greg, I think he is actually the horse speed. He's been in many barns, and Tom actually claims this one out of the Bentley Combs barn. He's been in the Cody Reason barn. He's been in a lot of decent barns. That, to me, suggests that the horse is actually very, very sound and a very good sign. And, this horse won from the 11 post, or just missed from the 11 post last time, and was hung out wide. I do think that he's going to be forwardly placed in here. He's the one to beat by far when you look on paper. Now, when I looked at this race, I thought the 9 had a sneaky chance near the 5Bs, because this horse is dropping down from 30 to 12.5, and I think is going to be in front by many. Problem is, he's not acting like he wants to run today. He was absolutely a mess in the post parade. We'll have to water him down. Now, it is a little bit warmer today, but it's not like it's South Florida in July, so I'm a little bit worried about the 9, but I do think that horse could break to the front end and maybe get courageous at 19-1. When you look at some of the others in here, Immortal, the 8 is at 5-1. The hardest horse to figure out here is the 4. I mean, I don't know what you guys think Lord Grantham, his last race, he completely stopped. When you go look at the race, I don't know what happened. He just did not get out of the gate. And you wonder, okay, was it the slop that day? Was it a muddy racetrack? I just don't know. It just felt like he didn't want to run. And now the plunge all the way down to 12,500. But if you look back, the Son of Mastery was claimed for 20. So maybe he's always kind of been in this class. And 7-2 for Chris Hartman, is that cold or not? I just can't get a read on the 4. And then the other one is the one on the inside, Happy Boy Rocket, dropping down. And this is Torres and Broberg. They are a very, very potent combination. Excuse me. And at 7-2, I'm going to land there just because I just have too many question marks on some of the other runners in here. And I think you're getting a good price at 4-1. Now 4-1.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. If it's not Lapis Lazuli, who's a 6-5 favorite, this race becomes very interesting. And he does not have to win.
No, he doesn't have to win this race.
There's the 8 Immoral for Mike Puich, major player in here. He's 5. That's a good price on Immoral. And you brought up a horse that I was intrigued by too. It's shown speed against better, drops in class. The 5Bs, he's 16-1. The 9.
I think he's too big a price. I mean, I don't love that his good form or 5 furlong races at Delta Downs. Those races often do not transcribe to going at Oaklawn, but he sort of showed a lot of speed last time. He's supposed to be the speed in this race. I don't love him, but 16-1, I had to bet a couple dollars.
Well, you mentioned the Delta Downs race, but the reason to like him's the last race, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't
Oaklawn.
think he ran that badly last time out. That race completely and totally collapsed. He went, look at the first quarter. They went 21-4 with a final time of 1:12-4. I mean, that's a wicked, wicked quarter. They came the last half in 51. No surprise he fell apart in that race. The whole race completely and totally fell apart.
And even the 7 to me was interesting. Mark the Moose, who...
Not impossible. I didn't particularly like him, but not impossible. I mean, the thing with Immoral, the 8 is 2 things. Tyler Bays is having a horrendous meet, and he's only got the 1 number last time. Most of the time, his figures just aren't fast enough. But in fairness, his best figure is his last, so maybe he's rounding into form.
And lowest level he'll have run at yet. And Paulie talked about Lord Grantham, the 4, who's down to 3-1 right now. It's sensational meet for Chris Hartman, winning at 36%. He faced, and I know he got beat in a Derby prep over the weekend, but Victory Formation, who started out 3 for 3 for Brad Cox.
Yeah, he still is a good horse.
This for him is a huge drop in class. So off that alone for that barn, the 4 is interesting.
I know, but the problem is, his form is borderline good enough, and listen, I know it was a mile in the mud. I don't like him being eased, but obviously he's not impossible in there.
Well, let's get to the favorite. We haven't really talked about Lapis Lazuli. 2 straight starts, and figure-wise, he's probably the horse to beat. Tom Amos claims him. We know how good Tom is, but back-to-back starts now. He's had the lead in the stretch, and he's gotten run down.
But I'll give you Tom's stats. You ready for this? Off the claim in dirt sprints at Oaklawn Park, Tom Amos is 0 for 9 with 2 hitting the board and mostly short prices, short to mid prices. So as good as he is, for whatever it's worth, small sample size, but he has not needed success over the last 5 years claiming at Oaklawn. And I think that has to be a bit of a concern, right? I mean, when you're dealing with short prices, I think all of those things are worth looking at. Bad stats for short prices, good stats for long prices, sort of my theory in life.
7-5 on a horse who had 2 back, had a 2-length lead in the stretch. Got run down by a horse named Title Shot. Then had a lead again last time out for this same condition. And got run down. So back to back, well, actually 3 straight seconds for this horse. So the question a little bit becomes the will to win, too.
I agree with that as well. I think that's a very, very valid point. I think he's overbet at 7-5. Obviously, we always like to see Tom do well, but I think from a betting standpoint, this horse is a little bit overbet.
There's Immoral stepping in with Bays for Mike Puich.
It's not like he has some huge advantage, Lapis. I'm surprised he's this big a favorite, to be honest.
Big stop for the call. This will kick off the late pick 4 on our President's Day program from Oaklawn. Let's go to Vic Stauffer.
They're at the post. They're off. Happy Boy Rocket slow into stride. Good start for Practical Man, Galactic Empire, and Lord Grantham. Immoral is in the center. Outside of him and on the move is Lapis Lazuli. Skyline is next, then the 5Bs and Mark the Moose. And Happy Boy Rocket is desperately last at this point. Lord Grantham and Galactic Empire won 2. Lord Grantham a neck in front. Now, Lapis Lazuli is going to try to go in. Nope, he's going to go 3 wide outside of Galactic Empire, and he's up into second, chasing Lord Grantham. Skyline's at the rail. He's fourth with 2.5 to make up. Then comes Immoral and Practical Man. The 5Bs has 6 lengths to make up. Happy Boy Rocket is unwinding for Torres. He's at the back of the pack, still 7 from the front. Mark the Moose is the trailer, and Lord Grantham is confronted by Lapis Lazuli. These two at the top of the stretch. Lapis Lazuli outside, Lord Grantham inside. Immoral catches the eye. He's got a chance for Tyler Bass. 2.5 from the front, Lapis Lazuli and Lord Grantham. They are matching strides and trading punches. Lord Grantham inside, Lapis Lazuli outside. Lapis Lazuli half ahead. Lord Grantham tries to battle back. Lapis Lazuli, Lord Grantham, Lapis Lazuli. Lapis Lazuli beat Lord Grantham. Immoral was third, close for fourth between Mark the Moose and Happy Boy Rocket.
Lapis Lazuli, claimed by Tom Amoss. Rafael Bejarano, Maggie Moss, picks up the second win of his career.
Got the right stalking trip in here. Very surprised to see the number 4 in the lead in this race, Lord Grantham. Obviously, the 9 of 5B's getting left helped his cause gain a lead, but even then, it's hard to make him on the lead, but guys like Chris Hartman are dangerous, no circumstance. A different horse today, but Tom Amoss and Lapis Lazuli able to run him down with Rafael Bejarano. He's been riding very well.
7 of 5 is your favorite, so back-to-back races to start off the first 2 legs of the Pick 5. Chalky beginning. Meanwhile, back in New York at the Haynes Field, Dr. Ardito just keeps rolling along. 6 straight wins. Our winner circle lead-in brought to you by Fasig-Tipton Digital, North America's #1 digital auction platform for thoroughbreds. Fasig-Tipton Digital, the newest from the oldest. Learn more at digital.fasig-tipton.com. One more look at the stretch.
This is a fun race. It really was. A lot of heat up front. Got a fast pace, and these two really ding-dong down the wire. And a nice win for Dr. Ardito. Get another, what's that, 6 straight for him, Greg?
Yes, it is.
I mean, very, very hard to do that, and he's been consistent and good, but the old pro bank it, he would not go away. This was a very, very fun stretch call.
It was fun to see Bankett show up again, too.
Yeah.
And with that kind of performance, even though he didn't win.
Yeah, he didn't become the 10,001 winner for Steve Asmussen, but I'm sure that's right around the corner.
4, 5, 1. And, you know, for what do you think now? Just too much pressure up front?
Yeah,
had to go too quick.
22 and 446. He doesn't really want a mile anyway, and once the 3 decided to be aggressive, he had absolutely no chance.
So Dr. Ardito with the win. Up next, the 7th, we have another 1-turn mile, an allowance optional claiming field. And No Burn going to cut back in distance. He has been in incredibly sharp form. Dominant win last time out. That was going 1 1/8 in the mud. He will shorten up when we return.
Number 1 is Mo Donegal by Uncle Mo. And they're off in the Remsen. As they come on for the finish, and it's going to be tight here in the Remsen. Mo Donegal bearing down on the outside. It's Mo Donegal and early voting, and it is Mo Donegal to win the Wood Memorial. And it will be Mo Donegal to win the Test of the Champion, the Belmont Stakes.
We're back on America's Day at the Races on FS2. Thanks for being with us on this President's Day edition of the program. It's brought to you in part by NYRA Bets, where you can play it all. Get signed up, started. Match 200, that promo code to use for new members at NYRABets.com. Race 7, very good race here coming up. 1 turn mile in this allowance optional claiming field. We saw No Burn going to break. He will not stay at 9-2. Coming off a 4-length win, gate to wire last time out, with a 96 buyer in the win. The horse is favored right now, Market Alert, who was narrowly defeated by a horse we saw in the last race. What do you think now?
I don't get this horse at all. He's improved for Rob Atras. Not really. He's still running the same kind of figures. They look at him with what do you think now, but I thought Lobster's going to show speed from the inside. He's going to have No Burn outside of him. Boy, I think he's a bad favorite. I wonder if he's actually favored in the in the doubles, because he makes no sense to me.
Let's head downstairs to Maggie.
And we'll check in with some horses that might be decent prices in this field. Beginning down on the rail with the New York bred, number 1, Lobster, as he's second off of a layoff. And I wasn't necessarily planning on talking about him because his last race wasn't great. But it was also at 6 furlongs, where I've always thought that, 7 to especially the 1 turn mile is really his gig. And he looks really fit in here, and he actually looks best in this field, just from his coat, from his conditioning, everything. The one thing I can say is that I just wish he looked a little bit more comfortable walking around the paddock. As I talk about, I like horses to overstride, in which, that front hoof print is going to be eclipsed by the back one. He doesn't do that. He actually comes up a hoof print shy. It could mean nothing, and I'll watch him warm up. And he's actually gotten more into the bit here since they've gone on the walking, which I like to see. Very intrigued to see what Lobster does second off the bench this time around. Let's talk about the horse that Andy's actually singling here in this late pick 4 sequence. That's number 6, Practical Coach. When he said that, I said, what is he talking about? Because I didn't really think I didn't think his last race was great, but I like what I see here. And as Andy mentioned, when Butch Reed ships in, they do tend to show up, but I also think every single one of them looks good, and sometimes they don't show up. But he definitely has his game face on, and I like the fact that he's getting to a 1 turn. He's actually a horse that's built more like a sprinter, Greg, so I think just that this 1 turn mile complements that physicality.
6-1. He is taking money. We'll get to him in a moment. Here comes our post break. We start with Lobster, Gary Siaka, and Jason Wyas.
Under the gun from the rail, he's got a gun. He does have good back races, but you have to think Market Alert and the 7, No Burn, aren't going to be far from being in attendance.
Chestertown, last win, it came February of last year at Aqueduct.
$2 million horse, just never really panned out. He is second off a layoff like Lobster, but he doesn't really have the races to get back to.
Here's Market Alert. We just looked it up. He is the favorite, in the doubles.
Yeah, by 10 cents for $1 over the No Burn. I don't get it. Not impossible, but I preferred others.
King Cumulay at 9-1.
He looks like he's probably overmatched. His best race was out of town.
This horse has a shot here. Coming off a neck win last time out. Burton calling.
I don't think it was just the slop. I think this horse ran very well last time. He's definitely a player.
Practical Coach, the one you like with Jose Lezcano.
His last race actually very good. We saw Southern District come here and run an exceptional race and finishing second. He's an improving horse for a trainer who comes here meaning business.
And No Burn, 8 for 20 lifetime, coming off that 96 buyer score by 4 lengths.
Incredible consistency, good in the 1 turn miles, posted well on the outside, a lot of things to like. He will be coming down from his 9-2 odds.
All right, so back to this Butch Reed runner with Lezcano. Practical Coach. The majority of his work has come at Parks. He was last seen at Laurel back on January 14th.
Right, that was a very competitive race. He was actually involved early with the horse who won the race, who sort of came back to win it. Southern District, who was second, came here, and he's a horse that was claimed from Klarovich and Chad Brown, and he was never really a horse who wanted to go far, and he got narrowly beaten going 1 1/8, running a very fast figure. So that form is legitimate. I think that race could be actually better than it looks. He'll probably have to step it up and run the best race he's ever run. But this trainer coming here, Butch Reed, he's got a positive ROI. Not a high win percentage, 16%, so he's gotten some price horses home. But it just seems like lately, every time he brings a horse, the horse is live.
When he's successful, too, he's forward. Not necessarily on the lead, although he has been. Where do you expect to see him in here?
I expect to see him sitting probably 4th early, behind the combination of the 1, 3, and 7. But I think they're going to be moving a little bit in this race.
6-1 right now. Practical Coach for Butch Reed, who we see regularly in big races, too. Bring horses here to New York and have success. Here's the 7, No Burn. Shockingly at 9-2 right now, cannot remain at that price.
No, I mean, based on the doubles, but obviously the different pools without the CAW money, he's going to be vying for favoritism with the 3. And what can you say? I mean, yeah, he shipped in Churchill and it didn't work out, but it was a big purse. They took a shot. And then he had a rough trip back in December 11th. He didn't break. He rushed up. He ended up on a dead rail. And last time out, he just dominated a field with his usual figure in the 90s. He draws well on the outside. He has the speed to be in contention. I honestly don't know what there is to not like about this horse.
Doesn't have to have the lead either,
No.
even though he's been very successful with the front
He
end.
can stalk. I think he can do anything. I mean, he can control. He can stalk. He's a good horse.
Let's go back to Maggie.
Yeah, he's really cool. No Burn. I didn't love him in the paddock. I liked him, though, a lot on the racetrack. Warmed up really, really nicely with his regular rider, Dylan Davis, aboard. One equipment note that he is a horse that has, at least as of recently, run with that Houghton bit as well as a Burr. Burr comes off today, maybe just doesn't need it. He hasn't really shown that want and desire to get out too badly. So if anything, it's a positive change. If we'll also take a look at number 3, Market Alert. As you guys have been hinting at, I really don't know what makes this horse so special. I know, yes, he was complimented by the fact that Bankit ran so well in the former race, the Haynesfield, and he outgained him to the wire that day. He's a tough horse to trust, though. I know this catching up with his trainer Rob Atras, and that he has said he shows the world of ability in the mornings, but he doesn't handle his racing particularly well. I mean, I remember when Jimmy Ryerson had this horse, they couldn't get him on the track coming out of the tunnel to out of the Belmont Tunnel. They had to back him onto the track with the pony. It was quite the spectacle. And he's gotten a little bit better as of late, but he got a little hot and washy today. He can win, but he's just never a horse, Greg, that I feel very confident in taking a short price.
All right, Maggie, thank you. About to load for the 7th here at Aqueduct. Market Alert has remained your favorite throughout. That price finally starting to come down on No Burn.
He's going to beat me, Market Alert. Maybe I'm tempting fate trying to beat this horse for these connections, taking this much money. I guess people are mesmerized by the fact he ran against a tough horse last time, but he's running against some pretty tough horses here, and I think he's overbet. I probably end up being proven wrong, but I think he's overbet.
I think you look at this board, is one of the better numbers Bourbon Calling here at 6-1?
He's probably the fact that he's the same price as my horse. I think he's supposed to be a shorter price than my horse. My horse is going to have to, he's going to have to improve. Bourbon Calling, I don't really think his race was an aberration on a wet track. He's run fast on dry tracks before, and Antonio Arriaga is very dangerous. Now, not trying to knock Jorge Vargas, but he is going for Manny Franco to Jorge Vargas. That doesn't help. And I wonder if Manny Franco going to Market Alert is one of the reasons he's taking more money. If that's the case, I respect Manny Franco. It's a little foolish.
He's coming off a win last time out, Bourbon Calling. Here it is. On January 6th, sloppy sealed track, allowance optional claiming field, and close throughout, and able to hang on to win by a neck.
I thought he ran really well in this race. I mean, this race was kind of coming apart behind him, and he was dominant. He was the best horse in here. The horse who finished second to him, win it.
Who could never get out of the gate?
Yeah, he didn't. I don't think he broke as badly in this race, but he does have gate issues. But he's still a good horse, and he came to him, and he just held him at bay. I mean, Winnet had a chance to get by him. He had every chance to get by this horse, and Bourbon Calling was the best horse that day. I think 6-1 is a crazy generous price.
Yeah, he's very intriguing at that number on the board. Practical Coach, you're saying the one you like in there, that's the 6 at that same number as well. And now things starting to even out with Market Alert, the 3, and the 7, No Burn. 5-2, 3-1 between those two.
I'm very surprised. I'm not saying this is a very tough line to make the morning line. I wonder what David Aragona probably nailed it. He usually does. I'm going to take a look and see what
No Burn was at 2-1.
He had No Burn 2-1, and he had Market Alert 3-1. So he did have him, but he had Bourbon Calling at 7-2. So he, in Lobster, he had 6-1. Chestertown, he had 5-1. It's amazing what a good job he does. The 4, he had 12-1. He's 11-1. He went to 10-1. The 5 is the one that fooled him. Practical Coach a little lower than he expected. He made him 10. but pretty much nailed it across the board. But the one thing is, like, we both thought No Burn would be favored. He still might be, though.
We haven't talked a lot about Chestertown, and you brought up the purchase price for him way back when. He was expected to be, when you go for the kind of price he did,
Right.
very good. It again didn't pan out, but he's carved out a decent career. He's faced some tough company. Say that about him.
Yeah, I just don't like this horse. I thought when he won, he was opportunistic in a 4-horse field on a sealed track, and this is a very tough race. Where is his race that, to me, doesn't really, I mean, he has race, I guess, to give him a chance. But I think there may be some improving horses, too. We'll see. Listen, Lobster can win the rail. It's not impossible. He's second off a layoff, and he's got some big races to get back to, and he chased Pirate Rick last time, was super fast,
Reeled off 4 consecutive wins, Pirate Rick.
Yeah, this is an interesting race. The card was a little weak in the beginning, but this is a terrific race. And tomorrow, the next race, the 8th race, is a fun race as well.
There's Market Alert getting the help of the Starting Gate crew, all their attention to load in. 2-1 favorite there with Manny Franco. Long shot King Cumbule. And we're set for the 7th. Let's go upstairs. Chris Griffin with the call.
Practical Coach. No Burn. All in line. All set. And they're off. Speed to the outside from Practical Coach. There's No Burn in the early mix. And at the rail, there's Lobster. Lobster's now a neck in front. Mild pressure here from Practical Coach, who's going to track in second. On the far outside there, No Burn is now going to claim that second position away. Tightly at the rail is going to be Market Alert as they come out of the chute. Towards the far outside is King Kumbale, is traveling there with Bourbon Calling. They're 4 and 5 wide as they really back off the tempo. And the trailer is Chestertown. On the front end, it's Lobster, who went 23.32 for that opening quarter mile. Market Alert and Manny Franco, they're saving ground to the inside. They are now challenging for the second position, waiting for some room. In between horses, there's Practical Coach. No Burn and Dylan Davis, they're 3 wide in that second grouping as King Kumbale has no choice but to go wide with Bourbon Calling. Chestertown is still the trailer with less than a half mile to go. 46 and 2 for that half mile time. Lobster trying to take them all the way. No Burn is right there in between horses. King Kumbale and also Bourbon Calling is making a move. 4 across the racetrack here as they're well into the far turn. Market Alert still waiting for room there in behind rivals. Then comes Practical Coach. Chestertown is the gray who's trailed throughout. They approach a quarter mile left to go. Bourbon Calling is in hand, and now Bourbon Calling is at the top of the stretch and is 3 lengths in front. They went 111.34 for 3 quarters. Market Alert is now finding some room. Just got shut off there by King Kumbale as Bourbon Calling is getting away. King Kumbale is ranging up on the outside, but running out of time is 2.5 lengths off the leader. Bourbon Calling, King Kumbale trying to make one last push at the wire. Bourbon Calling is crying out for the wire. Bourbon Calling holds on. King Kumbale was rushing up there, is in the photo. Then came Practical Coach with Market Alert in 1 minute 37.80 seconds.
Overlay here. Bourbon Calling goes off at 6-1. Jorge Vargas Jr., Antonio Arriaga second off the claim.
Listen, we said it before the race. This is one of those things when you look back on it, you say if you could give out picks based on the odds, this was just a ridiculous overlay. I don't know what's not to like. And he ran very, very well breaking this race open on the turn. An excellent effort by the runner-up King Kumbale as well to finish second. Has really improved in there for Dave Duggan. Nobody else really ran much. My 6 was a mediocre third in there. He ran okay, but he didn't improve. But this horse, Bourbon Calling, he's in great form. Congrats to Antonio Arriaga. Horses run for him. And congrats to Jorge Vargas as well.
Yeah, Arriaga claims him, and now back-to-back wins. And this win stepping up in class against a much tougher group than that victory back on January 6th. 5-4, 6-3, 6-1 over 11-1. Over 7-1 for your trifecta.
He's not this big a price in the doubles. He's a clear-cut third choice in doubles.
Prices for you when we come back. It's Bourbon Calling here in the 7th at Aqueduct. King Kumbale trying to make it interesting late. Ran out of room. Arriaga, the players group. Jorge Vargas Jr. Winning connections. We'll have the prices when we come back. We'll set up the nightcap as well and still have the feature to come. from Hot Springs out at Oaklawn Park. Stay with us.
Warfront. On the racetrack, his accomplishments included this victory in the Vanderbilt at Saratoga.
It will be Warfront to win it by 2.5 lengths.
Now this son of Danzig ranks among the world's elite sires. With over 100 stakes winners, Warfront's progeny includes some of the world's most talented runners, both at home and abroad. Ranked number 1 by percentage of lifetime stakes winners, graded stakes winners, and Grade 1 winners. Warfront, standing at Claiborne Farm.
The road to the Kentucky Derby starts with Naira Bets. Earn a cash bonus throughout the Triple Crown Trail. Hit a $5 win bet on select races and split $1,000 on each race. Opt in at NairaBets.com.
Harris Farms, proudly standing Smiling Tiger, a triple Grade 1 winner, defeating Breeders' Cup champions Dancing in Silks and Amazombie, a leading California sire with over $9.7 million in progeny earnings, with 94 winners in 2021 and graded stakes superstars like Spice Perfection.
Spice Perfection wins the Grade 1 La Brea.
And Tiger Dad. Smiling Tiger, a leading California sire, standing at Harris Farms. It pays to be Cal bred.
Tampa Bay Downs has a rich thoroughbred horse racing history in Florida dating back to 1926. Celebrities such as Babe Ruth, Jack Dempsey, and John Ringling all attended opening day. In 1981, Hall of Fame jockey Julie Crone won her first career race here, and in 2007 we saw Street Sense win the Tampa Bay Derby and go on later that year to win the Kentucky Derby. Featuring full fields, great turf racing, and a 15% takeout on our Pick 5, Tampa Bay Downs has live racing every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday.
We're back on America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage. It's brought to you in part by America's Best Racing, for the love of the race. Visit americasbestracing.net today. We have had some very fun races this afternoon. This was certainly one of them here. Bourbon Calling with a big effort at 6-1 to score the upset.
I'm annoyed I didn't look at the time for the Haynesfield to see how these two times compared. It's a very impressive performance by a horse who's in great form for Antonio.
137.86.
That was where the Haynesfield went?
Yes.
So this was faster, I think, right?
137.80.
So basically the same race. Wow. Very impressive performance, putting that much distance in the third place finisher. And how about King Kumbale? Let's give him a little love. He improved a lot.
He ran big.
Yeah. Dave Duggan is a very good trainer, starting to get some more horses and doing well with them. Not surprising.
So Bourbon Calling back-to-back wins since being claimed by Antonio Arriaga. 7th win of his career, and beats a good group. And here's some of the bigger names, though. Yeah, they just did not bring their A game today. 5, 4, 6. Let's go down to Maggie.
Here with winning trainer Antonio Arriaga. And Antonio, Bourbon Calling, 2 wins in a row for you and the barn. Talk a little bit about the improvement you've seen from this horse since you claimed him.
Well, he's been good since we claimed him, but you know, I never thought we had this kind of horse. But we just tried it for the last time, and you know, he ran big, and this time we tried it again. We're supposed to run in the state, but we tried for 80 and see how that worked. And you know, thank God he ran good.
So was Georgie Vargas making you a little bit nervous towards the end there? He maybe moved too early?
He said he had so much ground, and they were catching up to him, but he stopped at the 16th pole. I was like, come on, keep riding. And hopefully he got to the wire on time.
Exactly. The wire came up at the right time. You get on a lot of your own horses. Talk a little bit about being able to do that as a trainer and how important it is.
Well, I like it to do it, you know, and, you know, I got the ability to do it, so I enjoy what I'm doing.
You're a pretty good hand on a horse, like galloping a lot of horses for Todd Pletcher.
I try, you know, I do my best. I learned a lot from him.
And I'm sure you've learned a lot from training horses, too. Congratulations. Really big win here with Bourbon Calling.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Winnie.
All right, Bourbon Calling. He's 2 for 2 for the barn and continues to improve, Greg.
Great claim. Big win for Bourbon Calling. And we move now into the nightcap. 6 furlongs. Allowance optional claiming field where Please Be Nice for Bill Mott. That debut, obviously, blitzed a field to win by more than 10 lengths. Got a huge figure doing it, though, too.
He did. I think he's extremely vulnerable in this race, however, especially for a horse that, looking at the pick 3, he could be as low as 1-2 in this race. He probably won't go that low, but he's 4-5 now. We talked about it in yesterday's show, you weren't here, Greg, that Bill Mott, his numbers off of maiden wins with debuters in the dirt coming back. He's just 2 for 27 doing that, which suggests, like in yesterday's stake, they sometimes take a step back. He also rode a rail that wasn't extremely strong, but it was the best place to be. And with the presence of the 3 looms boldly, I just don't know that he's going to have an easy time on the front end. I thought the 2, What's Up, Bro, had a good chance to upset this field.
More on this finale from Aqueduct when we come back. Going to take a short time out. We still have the feature ahead at Oaklawn. Stay tuned for that as well. A lot more show ahead on this President's Day edition of America's Day at the Races post-parade from our finale here at South Ozone Park right after this.
Would you believe that champions weren't measured by rings, but by a crown? That the history books were written on dirt? That the greatest of all time was a horse?
He is moving like a tremendous machine.
Experience the magic at this year's Belmont Stakes as we honor the 50th anniversary of Secretariat's legendary Triple Crown triumph. Join the celebration at Belmont Park on Saturday, June 10th. Tickets on sale now at BelmontStakes.com.
We're back at America's Day at the Races. Thanks for being with us on our FS2 coverage. We have the nightcap next here in New York, and it's still 4-5 on the Bill Mott second time starter. It was so impressive in that debut on that muddy track. Road to the Triple Crown on Saturday. It went through New Orleans in the Risen Star. Full field lining up. Brad Cox sent out 3 in the race, including the undefeated Victory Formation. Turns out it was Angel of Empire for the barn getting the win.
I think the story of this race was that it was an extremely contentious pace that eventually collapsed, and sort of the last wave of movers got it done. Angel of Empire obviously improved. He had finished behind Victory Formation, but Victory Formation had everything his own way last time. Obviously, it didn't work out this way. It was a much more contentious pace and a more difficult scenario. The horse was the speed. Asmussen Trains and ex-Bob Bavadors actually ran okay, and I thought 2 Phils ran well to be third, probably moving a little bit soon in this race. But listen, Brad Cox, he's just got a plethora of horses on the trail, and he looks like he may have the favorite in the Rebel down the rail with Verifying.
Loaded with Triple Crown contenders, and now another one when one maybe falls by the wayside. We'll see about Victory Formation going forward, but this horse actually taking a big step up. He had said going in he thought this horse would, and he does, and now he vaults to the top of the list. The first 50-point race on the road to the Derby.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a skeletal look. It's just going to change significantly. We've got a number of 50-pointers coming up, including here with the Gotham, but the Rebel as well. Out in California, the Baffert horses are switching barns. They're going to start getting points, and then you go on to the 100-point races. So this is going to be a big change. I'm pretty confident, though, that Forte will be on that list at the end of the year. I believe he's running in the Fountain of Youth. Is it in 2 weeks? I think it's not next 2 weeks. And I'm looking forward to see him come back because he was very good.
Forte, obviously your 2-year-old champion. Arabian Night, who now going forward, going to start earning points. Probably the two that are the top two on that list.
I mean, the Baffert horses are always going to be much talked about, and for good reason. Forgetting about all the shenanigans and all the nonsense with the changing trainers, this is a man that knows how to win the Kentucky Derby like no other trainer perhaps in history. The problem I have with Arabian Night is not, obviously he's a talented horse, but he's in 2 races where he sort of ran off from the field and controlled in the front end. This is not going to continue to happen, and at some point we're going to have to see what he does when he handles some adversity, whereas Forte has been able to bring his race under different circumstances, wet tracks, dry tracks. I think he's shown already how good he is, and Arabian Night's getting a lot of hype. I get it, but I'm still skeptical.
You're assuming he's going to face adversity. We will see.
They all face adversity eventually. Even poor American Pharaoh was once asked to go a quarter in under 24 at one point in his race, and everybody cried and yelled, and he lost.
Going to be fun. Things getting more serious now with these 50-point races, then 100 points. Of course, we have the Gotham couple of weeks, then the Wood Memorial. Going to get to Hot Springs. Good one. When we come back, more coming up from Oaklawn Park. Their 7th race, mile and a 16th, 20,000 starter allowance. It's a good group lining up next.
Introducing a stallion as top class as they come. In 22 career starts, he won or placed in 12 graded stakes, competing in 15 grade ones, earning over $1.7 million. His undisputed speed is evidenced by 7 100-plus Beyer speed figures, a 3-time grade 1 winner, Raging Bull.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back with you here on America's Day at the Races on FS2. Post-parade coming up here for race 7 at Oaklawn. 20,000 starter allowance. At a mile and a 16th, 4-5 on Disc Jockey. 1 of 2 in the race for Robertino Diodoro. We're going to start with Hell or High Water, who's comes off back-to-back wins, 2 for 2 at Oaklawn.
Yeah, I thought he looked a little overmatched. I know he ran a big figure last time. I want to see it, though he has improved since the claim by Bentley Combs.
Intrepid Heart coming out of some tough company at Fairgrounds.
He just doesn't win anymore. That's the problem with him, and he has no speed whatsoever. They could be moving up front, but I'm scared of his lack of speed.
Thunder's Shook. Norman McKnight trains.
Off the claim, he will have to improve mightily.
Diodoro runner he claimed 2 starts ago, and he put him right back in the winner's circle.
Yeah, well, not surprising. Off the claim with a dirt router, this is tougher, though.
50-cent dollars, Chris Hartman.
He feels like a rival. He should be forward near along with Disc Jockey, and he feels like at least a thorn in that one's side for part of the race.
A lot of money for Disc Jockey. who had reeled off 4 in a row before he got beat last start.
Yeah, but it was a sloppy sealed track, and just feels like he's much the worst to beat.
Needs to be forward, too. He hopped a bit out of the gate, compromised his chances. And Lord Dragon, 7-1 outside. Ron Moquett claimed off of Diodoro.
Moquett's numbers off the claim not great, and I'm not betting horses claim from Diodoro.
7-1 from the outside. He's got Keith Asmussen in the orange. Moquett been using him a little bit. Let's go to Paul LaDuca for more.
Hey, guys, when you look at this race, it looks like a 3-horse race, at least to me. And in the 7, Disc Jockey might be tough to beat in here. Now, this is a horse that, had rattled off 4 races in a row at an age of 6. And, in his last race, he was getting better and better, actually. And in his last race, he just had a miscue at the start. Now, can't have that happen again. I thought this was a little bit better field. Right now, at 4-5, the double was paying, I want to say $6 or something. So in the pick 3 to start this pick 5 for 50 cents is like $11. So they're hammering the 7, but they're also, using the 2 in here, Intrepid Heart in here. And I think he's the horse to play against. I thought the 1 in here, Hell or High Water, is such good form that, that he's the one that can maybe jump up and beat Disc Jockey if Disc Jockey would have another hiccup at the gate. It's just, Intrepid Heart to me is, you look at the numbers and you just see the same movie all the time. And can this horse come from way out of it? Yeah, win this race at 7-2, but 7-1 on the 1's a way better proposition, even though I think Disc Jockey's going to be very tough to beat here, Greg.
Yeah, see if Hell or High Water can keep it going. Since he's transitioned to Hot Springs, he has been on a roll, no question, 2 for 2.
Also transitioned this trainer. I mean, off the claim, he's done really well with him, and his last race was good. I agree that 4-5 seems short in the 7, but I'm not trying to beat him. I just didn't like anybody else, to be honest. I mean, I guess the 6 is a decent price, but the 6 has to deal with a 7, 50-cent dollars, and I think it's going to be hard for him to deal with a 7 and win the race. And he comes out of a much weaker spot.
Let's look at the 4-5 favorite, Disc Jockey. Mentioned he'd won 4 straight before that defeat last time out when he had that hop out of the gate. This was back on December 17th. His 4th win in a row. He beat Winterwood. Barber Road was behind him in this race as well. Got a 97 buyer for the win.
Yeah, he's just been running against considerably better horses. And I also think it's fair to say the muddy sealed track didn't help him. As you say, he hopped the start and just took him out of the race. His form has been very good, and I'm just not going against horses for that barn that are going well. I don't have a good idea. I'm not saying I'm running to bet him at 4-5, but I'm not going to manufacture an opinion against a horse just because he's a short price.
He's not a horse, too, that has to be in front, but he's got to be forward to be effective, and he wasn't able to do that last time out. Christian Torres, he's got the hot hand, too, at least the hot hand early. He won 3 of the 4 races on the card.
Early in the meet, too, because he is the leading rider as well. I mean, he's having a fabulous meet. He can clearly ride.
There's the other, just left our screen. There's Disc Jockey. Before that, you saw the other one, Thought, who I thought was not without a chance in here. He's a huge price. He's won 3 of 4. 17-1 right now. Back to New York. And it's 3-5 on Please Be Nice off that big debut for Bill Mott. Let's go to Maggie.
And he looks sensational in the paddock, Greg. Number 7, Please Be Nice. So let's check in with his chief rivals in here as we'll take a look at number 2. That is What's Up, Bro? And he's one that was kind of hard-ridden to get to the lead last time and then was fairly pumped up and aggressive. I noticed that they have cut back the blinker a little bit. He was wearing that 3/4 French cup last time out, and now he's just wearing a regular cheater blinker. And he's one that continues to kind of form into a more athletic and just more of an athlete, to be honest. He was in his first, albeit 3 starts, he just looked a little bit soft still, despite winning and running well enough last time. But today, he really physically has taken a nice step forward. Now, number 3, Looms Boldly, showed a lot of promise in both of his first career starts. Shadow Dragon obviously complemented that when running second down at Gulfstream in the Holy Bull. But let's take a look at him today. Now, he's one that I really like physically. He's a tank of an animal, to be quite honest, but he looked as though he needed a race. He ran well, and then with the race, he ran even better. Now he's had time off, and he just looks a bit soft again, and he's gotten hot. he just doesn't look as fit as he needs to face winners for the first time. I'm not going to be surprised if he jumps up and runs well here, because I do think he's a nice horse. I just wish he looked a bit more fit, Greg.
All right, Maggie, thanks. Our post parade here coming up in just a moment. Riders up for the finale on this President's Day card here in New York. Right-hand side of your screen. That's 7th at Oaklawn, where they should be loading any minute now. Or it's still even money on that Diodoro runner disc jockey. The 7 with Christian Torres. So we're going to see gold in them hills to kick things off here in New York. Ralph D'Alessandro trains Andre Worry aboard. The win came at the end of the 2-year-old campaign at Finger Lakes.
Yeah, this horse is just super tough in this spot. This is an unusually tough race.
What's Up Bro broke his maiden, and he faced a very good one named Don't Lose Cruise last start.
Yeah, and I believe that he's going to sit behind the 3 Looms Boldly and Please Be Nice as he rated his win, and I think he's going to win this race.
Looms Boldly just went by for Brad Cox. He is quick. Bobby the Tank at 5-1.
He can only look to pick up pieces to get a piece of this, getting Lasix first time.
I'm taking money right now. Kaz Palace, blinkers on and Lasix.
Not for me, though these connections sometimes dangerous.
Penn National Shipper, the 6, Saratoga Banker.
I just didn't think he was close to good enough. It's a tough field.
And here's a 3-5 favorite, start number 2.
Taking horses off maiden wins at short prices in difficult spots like this. I know he ran a big fig. I think he's in a tough spot. He can win, but I'm going to try to beat him.
And Jackie Davis on McDonough outside.
It's a dichotomous field where horses like the 2 and 3 and 7 obviously belong. There are some in here that just aren't good enough.
5 minutes to post, finale at Aqueduct as we return you to Hot Springs for this 7th coming up. Looking at, if you are looking ahead to play either the pick 3 or a double in here, the next race, did you think it was just pattern bet or one way or another?
I liked one way or another in here. I guess pattern bet is the other one that figures to be sitting close behind him, and he does seem like the other one. I didn't really have much else. Is it possible Choctaw Charlie was a little interesting, but I was mostly one way or another. I'd probably take a shot with him. It's hard. Then the last race just seems like a lot of horses can win.
Even money, disc jockey.
Well, they're late enough, but whatever.
And 50-cent dollars broke my heart back on February 5th, or sorry, January 8th, I should say. This horse is going to be forward. Since he has come to Oaklawn, he's raised his game. It's for the Chris Hartman barn that has done very little wrong. It's a nice price on him. Do you just think, in terms of his running style with the other runners in this race, he's going to be compromised?
Well, he's going to have disc jockey on his throat, outside of him, and disc jockey's a better horse. It's Chris Hartman. I'm never surprised when his horses outrun their PPs, but honestly, and he's got a lot of speed, I'm just skeptical. He didn't run badly last time, but Fort Peck was a big drop down off a long layoff, and I just think this jockey's a better horse. But listen, if you like him at 7-1, it's not a bad price. I can't disagree. I certainly am not going to bet Intrepid Heart at 2-1. He hasn't won a race in quite a while, and he just doesn't have any speed anymore. And when he gets there, he doesn't get there. And I just wonder, though he's run against better, if finally his form is starting to fall apart.
Been facing, I would argue, considerably better. But I'm with you. But yeah, he comes from very far out of it. But coming out of a grade 3 at Fairgrounds last time out, he is the 2-1 second choice on the board. Isaac Castillo for Joe Sharp with Intrepid Heart. Could get pace, though, here. Hell or High Water wants to be forward. Both Diodoros want to be forward. And the 6 50-cent dollars does as well.
Well, they should be a solid pace in here. I don't disagree.
Vic Stoff for the call. Here's race 7 from Oaklawn.
They're at the post. They're off. 50-cent dollars and a Thunder Shook broke well. Disc Jockey was a bit slow into stride, but he didn't break bad, and so he's on the move on the outside. Meanwhile, Hell or High Water moves through at the rail. good pace on early. Then comes Thunder Shook, who is now passed by Thought. Second to last is Lord Dragon, and Intrepid Heart is at the back of the pack. Hell or High Water and 50-cent dollars to the backstretch. Hell or High Water, a neck in front. 50-cent dollars is second by a length and a quarter to Disc Jockey. Well placed by Christian Torres as he goes for his fourth win. No excuses today for Disc Jockey. He's a length and a quarter from the front. Thought and Lord Dragon both have 3 lengths to make up. Lord Dragon is about 3 from the front. That tells us that the pace can't be very fast. 3 back to Intrepid Heart. Thunder Shook is the trailer. There's a half mile left to go, and Hell or High Water is the leader. Hell or High Water, a neck in front of 50-cent dollars in second. Disc Jockey still in striking position. He's third and less than 2 from the front. Then comes Thought at the rail and Lord Dragon. Intrepid Heart has 5 lengths to make up, and the trailer is Thunder Shook, and the leader is Hell or High Water, but Disc Jockey is ranging up 3 wide, and these 3 are at the top of the stretch. 50-cent dollars is between horses. Disc Jockey makes his move for the front. He's a half length in front of Hell or High Water, who races in second. 50-cent dollars is third. These 3 have it to themselves. Disc Jockey to the final furlong. He leads it by a full length now from 50-cent dollars and Hell or High Water, but those 2 are coming back at Disc Jockey. Disc Jockey, Hell or High Water, 50-cent dollars. Disc Jockey, Hell or High Water, 4 wins. Christian Torres, Disc Jockey, yes! Disc Jockey beat Hell or High Water. 50-cent dollars was third, and Intrepid Heart finished fourth.
Disc Jockey, 5 wins now, his last 6 starts. Robertino Diodoro, Christian Torres, as you heard, it's been a big day for him, 4th winner.
4 wins and 7 races. Have to look to see if he's got more live ones on today's card. When you ride the right horses, you can win a lot of races. He rides very well, but this case, all he had to do was just basically not do anything particularly stupid, and he didn't, and he rarely does.
Back to New York. Finale coming up in 3 to 5. Please Be Nice, start number 2 off that big debut for the 7 for Bill Mott. As we look at the 4 there, Bobby the Tank, half his morning line.
Yeah, I think that he's ridiculously overbet in here, but he is getting Lasix, and I guess they anticipate that he's the one horse that can close, and there should be some pace in here. But I'm going to hope that the number 2 horse is able to rate and sit in third, get the right trip, and I really think he can win. I thought his maiden win was very good. I don't think his maiden win is, if I can find my PPs, I got so many PPs up here. I don't think his maiden win was really that much worse. And then last time out, he got caught in a tough pace. I don't think he ran badly in that race. I really like his chances in this spot, getting Lasix the first time as well. I'm not saying the 7 can't win. I picked him second, but 3 to 5 on him is a price that I can't swallow, especially given the Barnes numbers.
Just seeing, as you said too, yeah, the maiden win for What's Up, Brother, too, not that far off what the 7 did, who obviously could step forward.
Right.
But that was a good group he was in against last start, too.
Yes, it was. 100% agree. And 3 to 5 versus 6 to 1, to me, from a value standpoint, the 2 is tremendous value in respect to the 7. I also think he's good value in respect to the 3 and 4. How he's a bigger price than the 4, I have no idea. And why, frankly, he's a bigger price than the 3. How is the 3 winning this race unless the 7 doesn't get out of the gate? But even then, the 2 will just be sitting right behind him, and he'll beat him. I think the race is somewhat misbet as he comes down to 5 to 1, and the 4 drifts up to 6 to 1.
Dylan Davis meets leading rider, is going to be on the 2. What's Up, Bro? Meanwhile, it's Jose Lezcano back aboard. Please Be Nice for Bill Mott, 3 to 5 favorite. He has been favored throughout. There he is, loading in the background. Finale on this President's Day card from Aqueduct. Let's go to Chris Griffin.
Bobby the Tank and McDonough. McDonough goes in, all in line. All set. And they're off. Lost the rider there at the start. Stumble for Saratoga Banker. Romero Mirage unseated is being tended to by the assistant starters after the stumble. The loose horse is already with the outrider, but the rest of the field works up the backstretch. Golden Them Hills is now taking the lead. Up on the outside is Kaz Palace. They're going to be 1-2. In behind them, that's What's Up Bro is tightly at the rail with Looms Boldly, who's out wider. Then comes McDonough as they move into the far turn. Towards the back end of the field, Please Be Nice. Bobby the Tank, and again after the stumble, Saratoga Banker out of the race, and the rider is being tended to in front of the starting gate as they work towards the quarter pole. 22.55 for that opening quarter mile. On the front end, it's Kaz Palace, but Looms Boldly is doing just that. What's Up Bro just had to check in behind horses, and What's Up Bro is trying to rally on. Looms Boldly is now taking the lead. It's Looms Boldly in front. Kaz Palace not going anywhere, and What's Up Bro out in the center of the racetrack is about to confront Looms Boldly. What's Up Bro, Dylan Davis, they've taken the lead. They're up by a full length. Looms Boldly and Kaz Palace, they're now battling it out for the minors, and Kaz Palace has actually reclaimed that second spot. What's Up Bro will win the finale. It's What's Up Bro, Kaz Palace, Looms Boldly, and Please Be Nice. Final running time, 1 minute 12.07 seconds.
What's Up Bro, Dylan Davis, meet leading rider with a win here. Bob Placeris, 2 wins the last 3 starts.
This race was run extremely oddly. The 3 didn't break, and he had to rush up. He ran the badly and finishing 3rd. The 7, he broke fine. He was up towards the front, and he just had absolutely nothing. He was a bad 4th. And this horse got exactly the trip that we talked about, right? That he could sit behind the speeds. And a really big effort by the 5 at a huge price. Somebody tried to tout him to me on Twitter. I told him he was insane. Well, he was second at 32-1, so maybe not that insane. He ran super. But this horse got the trip I was hoping, and I just think that 5-1 was a joke. I thought it should have been 5-2. And the stats don't lie, Greg.
5-1 here. What's Up Bro, the win. My mistake. Dylan chasing right now Manny Franco in the standings.
You should be ashamed of yourself. You made a mistake.
For Bob Placeris, Knollwood Stables, and the son of Dialed In. Second win now in 4 starts. 112 final time, and wow, just a no-show from Please Be Nice. Sometime, look, one on a wet track too in the debut.
He was
Maybe
with the
made
racetrack
some
that day.
pause.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he ran a big figure. I'm not going to, obviously something just didn't go right here, but I think one of the harder things to do in racing is get a horse not to win its debut, but to win its debut and then win its second start. Because a lot of times, you see horses go the other way. The racing landscape is littered with horses that looked great in their debuts that really never went on and did anything. And we see that every year. It's not an easy thing to do, and this horse had a little more bottom, and he just got a beautiful trip, as he potentially could have.
And let's not write him off just yet. He could still rebound from this. Please Be Nice. Come back and run a better effort.
I'm not writing him off. I mean, he ran very well.
I didn't say you were.
I think one of the I think one of the things we talked about with that stat, what that stat says is that the horses that break their maidens first time after Beaumont frequently don't run back to the numbers, and that's the point of that stat. And it's now happened 2 days in a row with 2 horses that were short prices.
2, 5, 3, 7, 5-1 over 32-1. Kaz Palace at that big number to complete the exacta. We're going to take a timeout. When we return, African Americans played a huge part in the history of this game, especially from the outset in Kentucky Derby history. We'll meet the next guard, continuing to write that story here in New York when we come back.
Every hair, every muscle, every contour, every pulse. In the juvenile,
Essential Quality have won.
in the Belmont,
Essential Quality has won the Belmont Stakes.
well named.
We are back on America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage. It's brought to you in part by Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. You can even do it from Radio City Music Hall.
I love Radio City. You've been there?
I have not yet.
You got to go to the Christmas show. You know, you really do, because it's actually a lot of fun to go. And, you know, the kids will get a little older. You'll go. It's just a great place. Art Deco, really a fun place.
It's
to
on the
see
list.
Show. Yeah,
It's going to happen.
I saw Bob Weir and the Wolf Brothers there. They're your family. It was like Bob Weir and the Greg Wolf family was there. You didn't even go.
What's up, bro? Dylan Davis, Bob Caceres, at 5-1, Andy Serling special.
Yeah, he got a nice trip under Dylan and got it done. And the favorite, obviously, a better horse, as you said. He will have better days.
Here's the winning move from Dylan.
Just got a perfect trip, and once he wheeled him out, excellent performance by Kaz Powis at 32-1, huh? He battled the whole way, and they were moving up front. It's not like, I mean, the winner wasn't far off it, but wow, did he outrun his odds and improve for these connections.
Penn National Shipper, whose figures looked like he just wasn't in the same ballpark.
No, but he improved. These are sharp connections, but this was a hard horse, at least for me to like, but he really outran his odds. Should have listened to that guy on Twitter. I got a $330 exacting. And he's sharp. No, he's been giving me winners over the years.
Pick 6, 35,000, and the pick 5.
I'm watching the replay, Greg. And
2,148.
I know. They weren't impossible horses, but it wasn't an easy one to put together. I'm watching the race at the 7. He didn't have any trouble at all. He just had no horse.
There's how the pick 5 played out. You heard from Chris Griffin early on in this race, Saratoga Banker, that did not go well. And with an update on the rider, Ramiro Mirage, let's go back to Maggie.
Yes, Greg. Unfortunately, in a way, Romero is alert, is conscious, and though he is being transported to nearby Jamaica Hospital just for further evaluation, that is all that I have heard as of now. Saratoga Banker heading back to the barn. Greg?
All right, Maggie, thank you for that update.
Hope he's okay.
So card in the books here in New York. Let's head back to Oaklawn. Disc jockey. 5 wins now the last 6 starts, and this has been a very, very productive claim for Robertino Diodoro.
He's had quite a few of those over the years, and his numbers off the claim with routers are otherworldly. It's really amazing the success he has. He got the right trip stalking on the outside, and he just proved best. But a very nice performance by the horse that Paulie was talking about, Hell or High Water. And Bentley Combs has done a tremendous job with him. You say it's going to Oaklawn Park. I'm going to say it's going to Bentley Combs' barn. This horse has really improved. And listen, he fought tooth and nail with the winner down to the wire.
Yeah.
Good effort. Intrepid Heart, he's the kind of horse going to sucker people in. I just hate horses like that that have no speed at all. They're just constantly victimized. It's one thing to bet deep closers at good prices. It's another thing to bet them at short prices.
So Diodoro claims this horse for $25,000, September 23rd, and now 4 wins in the last 5 starts. We have 2 more remaining. The 8th at Oaklawn we'll get to in a moment. We'll set the stage for that momentarily. African Americans, of course, have had a very important role in the history of the sport, especially in the early days of the game. Today, their presence, though, is few and far between at racetracks. Among those carrying the mantle for the next generation here in New York, Kendrick Carmouche, who was part of an emotional and historic victory made even more significant by the day it fell on.
We had a few black jockeys, not a lot. We had one rider that rode for Alan Jerkins by the name of Noel Winter. He was a pretty good rider. We had one other black rider that used to ride in New Jersey, McCurdy. But after that, I don't remember a lot of, what's his name? We got one riding right now, Kendrick Carmouche from New Orleans. He's a good rider.
I always kept a straight path, man. I knew where I wanted to be in life. My dad was a jock, so, you know, I pretty much just followed my dad all around, you know, and just watched what he done. And after a while, I just I thought I could do the same.
There's not a lot of African Americans on a prominent level in racing, so whenever you know, they can win a stakes race, or even like when Kendrick won his first Grade 1 at the Cigar Mile. I think it was awesome. I mean, the history of African Americans in racing is like a lot of people don't know it. Like, African Americans pretty much used to dominate the sport before Jim Crow.
What African American riders faced in the early part of the 19th and 20th century was outright discrimination, and it parallels the story of African Americans in America, where they worked hard, they were able to achieve, but unfortunate to their success and jealousy and outright racism, they were pushed away from the game. Thankfully, as a people, we've been able to achieve and counteract that and be able to participate in horse racing in all aspects of America today.
Oh, this was a race which I always remembered.
Green Grotto fights his way back in front, fighting on his story to tell. All-Star at outside, Stall Walking Dude, Life in Shambles, and Classy Class. Here's the wire, Green Grotto maybe. Green Grotto got it!
It was a unique experience to be able to present the trophy on Martin Luther King's birthday, and unbelievable that Kendrick was the rider of the winner.
The reporter told me, and I was like, wow, that's really something, man. I said, you know, that never happens. Like, that is history, just talking about it, you know. It gave me chills that it was Martin Luther King Day, Green Grotto, and my man Gaston Grant. You know, it was just like, it was heaven.
It was just an eclipse of a moment that echoed to the great past of African American contributions to racing, and being in that moment is one of my most cherished moments in racing.
It was a trifecta, more or less. I was part of it, and I told them, I said, this will never happen again in life on Martin Luther King's birthday. And I thought it was funny.
Really incredible story that would play out, that scenario on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Obviously, Kendrick, we've had him on the program so many times before. He's such a great personality, and great to see him be so successful here on the circuit.
And looking forward to coming back on Friday, March 3rd. He and Trevor McCarthy both coming back on the same day, and I agree. It's a lot of good stories there and good people in that piece as well. Though I'm a little hurt. I thought that one of the greatest moments for Najah Thompson was the day he came to NYRA and met me.
It's up there for him, I'm sure.
Well, apparently not. So I'm a little hurt. I'll have to speak to him about that.
That poster you used to have of yourself in your office, it is missing, so he may have taken it.
But not the big head. The big head is there.
We got more coming up. We have the 8th from Oaklawn still ahead. We'll get to the nightcap as well. This 8th race, it looks like two major standouts in here, and it's being bet that way right now. That's one of them, one way or another. Your current 8-5 favorite. More on this 8th from Oaklawn when we return, including the post parade, right after this on America's Day at the Races.
Here comes Malatha. Here comes Clariere on the outside, and it's going to be Clariere. Nest, much the best. She won by better than 10 lengths.
And Elite Power gets up to win the sprint outside. It's Malatha coming to the wire. Who's it going to be? Here's the wire. Oh, the wish has come true. That one's for you, Cody.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? NYRA Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions. And offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with NYRA Bets.
The Factor, a perennial leading sire of winners. He was third in the nation by winners in 2021 and 2022. His progeny include Grade 1 winners Sistron and noted and quoted Grade 2 winner Charlaine's Mia and millionaires Bound for Nowhere. And factor this, with dozens of six-figure yearling sayings, he's a proven sire on the track and in the sales ring. The Factor, standing at Lane's End.
He
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than America'sBestRacing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. America'sBestRacing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
Back with you on America's Day at the Races on President's Day coverage. You're on FS2. Greg Wolf, Andy Serling, Paula Duca. Take you the rest of the way here. And we got some news. Producer Evan Schwartz. This little one just arrived early Sunday morning, 2:59 a.m. Avi Harvey Schwartz, 8 pounds, 9 ounces. Evan, welcome to the club.
Rumor has it that the first thing he saw was America's Day at the Races.
I heard it was on in the room. Very diligent, Evan. What a cutie.
Congrats to Evan.
Can't wait to see him here when he makes his first trip out to the track. I would, maybe Father's Day.
I think he'll bring him out and bring him around like a Stanley Cup, sort of show him off a little
I
bit.
would.
I don't know. I
I
don't see
did.
your kids. I very rarely see your kids. Or,
He'll make an appearance, and Isabel will as well.
I hope
Here's
so.
the post parade from Oakland. Tap it right, 13-1.
Yeah, obviously not far out of it, but just another horse that's probably not quite good enough.
Seriously, Sassy at 19-1.
Comes in, and Archie Bradford's been running at Fairgrounds, but his form just is nowhere.
Here come the two to beat. Pattern Bet, back-to-back muddy tracks. Broke his maiden in the mud.
Figures to be sitting behind one way or another in a lot of ways is probably the second likeliest winner.
And a 4-year-old filly favored here one way or another for Randy Morse.
I think this horse should be a more substantial favorite. He's consistently faster than these, and he also is the controlling speed. To me, he should be even money.
Blinkers off. Mocha Kisu went by, and here's Blow Some Smoke.
Not far out of it. You know, I like turnbacks, and this trainer is pretty good with turnbacks. Got some positive ROI, though, not at Oakland.
Yeah, taking money. I thought interesting, too. 15-1, 5-1 now. It's Run Fearless. Big price.
Last Fig was good enough to be competitive, but it wasn't a muddy sealed track.
Uchi at 22-1.
And that's what a lot of people will be saying if this horse wins.
Turf to dirt, a little intriguing maybe to get a piece of it. Choctaw Charlie had put together back-to-back wins at Oakland last year.
Yeah, his form was okay when he's coming back. Sort of second off a layoff. Don't know if he's quite good enough, but not impossible.
And War Music 49-1 on the outside.
Another turn back for a trainer that's 4 for 50 with turnbacks over the last 5 years.
4 minutes to post here in the 8th. Let's go to Paulie.
Yeah, when you look at this race, Greg and Andy, it does look like there's two horses in here that completely stand out, and that's the 3 and the 4 Pattern Bet in one way or another. Now, I think one way or another, Andy was mentioning that, and I kind of was in agreement that one way or another would be the favorite. But then I had jotted some notes down. This horse was actually a vet scratch. I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks ago, about 2 minutes going to the post right before they went into the gate was the 4. So I think a lot of people maybe knowing that this horse is not your favorite. Now, when you get to the 3 Pattern Bet, I was talking to Ron Moquette, and you know, he said, listen, this horse is a kind of horse that just the gate is her issue. If she can get out of the gate, stay close enough, she could be tough in there. Now, she's drawn 2 sloppy racetracks. You know, when she was 3-5, she won very, very easily. And then last time, I thought she was okay. But, you know, at the price you're getting right now at 2-1, I just think she might be a better proposition than the 4 one way or another. But I do think the 4 is the horse to catch in here. The horse that's taking money is Blow Some Smoke here for Gennaro Garcia, cutting back in distance, and a horse that might be launching from way out of it if they get into a speed. Well, let's be honest, nobody's really been launching way out of it. Maybe this is the kind of field, if the 3 and the 4 do come up suspect here, I couldn't really give you anybody else. I do think the 8 Uchi is very, very interesting, and the 9. The 9 at 5-1 for Choctaw Charlie does have a couple races that you can go to, and at least does have a couple wins here. So the race goes between the 3 and the 4. We'll see what goes on. I probably prefer the 3 a little bit, but the 4, if this horse gets to the front end, could be tough to catch.
Where's Paulie's tie? What's going on out there? What is it, like
Casual
Monday here?
Yeah. It's a holiday.
Paulie, I got a problem with this. Where's the tie? Do you?
Well, I was going with the tie a little bit, but I thought the pocket square might, would just offset it. Considering I've been wrapped up like I've been in the Iditarod for the last 2 or 3 months, Andy.
And let's not forget his travails to the Mainline Sports Club, where he's got to take some hacks with the golf clubs too.
Good point. The tie could get in the way. Paulie, I think you and I could do a reality show. You and I in the Iditarod. What do you think?
Why not? Let's go. And by the way, Greg, I still got a pulled oblique from that hack I took. And I'll tell you what. Thank God for ibuprofen.
He took, and he rushed it too, because we were on. Obviously, it's a few other people take a swing in that Mainline Sports Bar, the golf simulator, but he took a rip like I have not seen.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite moments in the history of the show. Not just this year, but that entire segment.
If we have a year-end special, that has already made it. 6-5 favorite, one way or another in here. Does this concern you at all, the last 2 starts coming up just short in runner-up finishes? Or not really?
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair point. Listen, the Sources lost to 2-1, even money, and 8-5. But in those races, he didn't make the lead. And he's supposed to make the lead. If he doesn't make the lead, I don't want him. But if he's supposed to be in front. Garcia's just got to get out of the gate. She has to just get out of the gate. Thank you, Greg. I told you. I warned you. So I feel like the defeats were because she didn't make the lead. And I think, barring a bad break, how is she not in front in this race?
This is a brutal beat.
We've all been there. We'll all be there again.
Well, this is the 4-year-old debut coming up for her. And the positive sign, too, is one of those defeats that was against Open 50 N2L at Churchill. In against State Bred here.
Nothing makes me more uncomfortable than singing the praises of heavy favorites, because by my nature I'm always looking to try to beat them. It doesn't, but you have to remember. I think this notion that you're just picking horses against the favorite because you don't want the favorite. That's not handicapping. That's stabbing. The key in handicapping is to find favorites, like in the last race today, that you think are vulnerable. Now, they're going to win sometimes, but find reasons to play against short price. I don't like the last race at Oaklawn. I didn't have a reason to bet against the favorite. I believe this horse is going to be very tough. Paulie prefers the 3, and I certainly respect his opinion. It's been sensational throughout this Oaklawn meet, but I prefer the 4. If the 4 breaks and gets to the front, I'll be very surprised if she loses.
Yeah, back to your point. It's not about just trying to toss and beat the favorite. We had, was it a day or two, probably a couple of days ago, there was a 1-2 favorite, and you correctly said it was value. Did the horse win?
No, I incorrectly. The good news was the horse went to
I agreed with you.
The horse went to 1-5, so no longer was value and also ran like garbage. But I think the point we were trying to make in that race is...
But there can be cases like that.
Absolutely. One of probably the most misused words I hear in racing discussions, whether on TV, is value. This concept that value, a big price means value. No, there are plenty of big prices that are bad value. Horse can pay $320 and be good value. It's not going to happen a lot, but it could. Before the computers got so involved in wagering and kind of evened out the odds, the return for betting every odds-on horse was better than betting every 20-to-1 shot and higher. It turned out that the outliers were actually underlays. Now, it's changed a lot with the computers being involved. Back in the day, you just didn't see those kind of odds-on. Now you see it, and the truth is, betting odds-on horses in lower-level races, unreliable horses, that's a dicey proposition. You want to bet reliable horses.
Horses with class. That bring it.
Yeah, that you can rely. I always you think about the truly great horses. A horse like Cigar. There were a lot of horses around the time Cigar ran that were faster horses, a Holy Bull before him, after him with Skip Away. But one thing about Cigar was he ran huge every time he hit the racetrack. You could always count on him to show up with an A effort. Yes, there were horses at times that were more brilliant, but his consistency at that level was remarkable, aside from having enormous talent on the dirt. And that's the difference, right, between the good horses and the lower level.
Do you remember how many times you bet against him during that streak?
I wasn't against Cigar a lot, actually. I didn't really play against him a lot. And the other thing about him is he didn't run in New York that often. No, I wasn't. I didn't take positions against Cigar.
Okay.
It was I'm not trying to knock him at all, but he came at an interesting time when, listen, they're running figures back then. They're not running that often now. But before him, when Holy Bull was running some of those big numbers. Unfortunately, Holy Bull had the suspensory injury the one time they met. And then Skipaway came along, right? Skipaway beat him when Skipaway was a 3-year-old. And Gentleman came along, and Will's Way, and Formal Gold. They were very fast horses. But one thing that Cigar had was that incredible consistency. And while those horses were brilliant sometimes, they didn't have the consistency of Cigar.
This race coming up, we said before we even got to it, looked like a 2-horse race, potentially. Look, the 3 and the 4, there's, Paul threw out a couple of horses that could surprise. That 6 is still taking money, blow some smoke. I think the 9, Choctaw Charlie's interesting to some with that ability she showed last year at the meet.
You didn't say he, did you?
I did. You got me.
I'm ruining you.
One that Paulie mentioned too, he threw out, and maybe not for a win candidate, but at least a horse maybe to use underneath. I just getting turf back to dirt again for Uchi, the 8 at 32-1. That horse intrigued me a little bit.
I'm not going to knock big prices. As a horse player, I don't see that horse at all. But listen, so what? They're big prices. The guy who said to me he liked the horse and ran second the last race here at Aqueduct. If you can find good reasons, and I say you, the proverbial you to everybody listening, if you find a reason to bet a big price horse, bet it. The last thing you want to do is say, I should have bet that horse when it wins, or run second to a shorter price logical horse.
But the favorite, and there she is, one way or another, the 4. She should, maybe Uchi puts pressure on the 8, but looks like she can control up front too. Vic, stop for the call. Here's race 8 from Oaklawn.
Choctaw Charlie and War Music. They're at the post. They're off. Seriously Sassy took up sharply soon after the start. One way or another, Choctaw Charlie and Run Fearless are on the lead, along with Mocha Kiss. Then comes Pattern Bet, Tap It Rights at the rail. Then to the outside in War Music, followed by Uchi, and the early trouble has Seriously Sassy at the back of the pack. One way or another into the far turn. A half length in front of Mocha Kiss in second. Choctaw Charlie is 3 deep in third. Pattern Bet is in a very tight spot. She's going to have to get up in between horses. Meanwhile, Tap It Right is just inside of her. 2 lengths to War Music. Another 2 to Run Fearless and Blow Some Smoke. Uchi has dropped out. Seriously Sassy is distantly last, and one way or another has the lead. Choctaw Charlie is coming after her in the second. Pattern Bet is now back in 6th and has to go from there. Tap It Right's at the rail, top of the stretch. Choctaw Charlie has put ahead in front. One way or another going to try to battle back. Right now, these two have it to themselves. Run Fearless is 4 back. One way or another in Choctaw Charlie. One way or another back in front. A neck to Choctaw Charlie. Run Fearless late and Pattern Bet. One way or another. Choctaw Charlie. Run Fearless and Torres. One way or another. Run Fearless! I think Christian Torres just won his 5th race of the day. It is very, very close. And if he did it, it's in the last stride. One way or another, Run Fearless in an 8th race whacker.
It's a horse who had beat Pattern Bet, one of the favorites before, and he may have just done it again.
It's
21-1 if it is the 7th.
Yeah, I don't even bother trying to call photos at Oaklawn. We have such a horrible view. He may well have gotten them, but I have no idea. I think you could argue that Martin Garcia was a little overconfident with the 4. He didn't take that advantage. One, I'd love to have the MIG here for that. I think if the MIG was riding the 4, he would have allowed the horse to open up a little bit. On the other hand, still supposed to get it done. Probably failed to get it done. And Christian Torres, what do we say? Probably his 5th winner.
5th win, yeah.
And
if it is the
21-1. The number 3 in this race, by the way, was moving to get 4th at the end. Had a world of trouble. Didn't break sharply and got himself a little bit, just herself a little bit between horses. I missed it. Yeah, the 7 got up. 7 got up.
21-1.
I couldn't add this one, Greg.
Beating an even money favorite. This is confirmed?
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at the slow-mo we just showed, which is the actual on-camera angle on the 7 gun. And listen, he had run against the 4 before and lost by almost 6 lengths at 53-1. Don't know what to tell you. It's a tough game. It's a tough horse to have, Greg.
And a brutal beat for one way or another in her 4-year-old debut.
Yeah, she's supposed to win. I think the rider should have been taking advantage of the advantage that he had on her, but she's still supposed to have won the race.
It has been posted. Unofficially your winner, 21-1 run Fearless. Jinx Fires, owns and trains 5-year-old mare by former Arkansas Derby winner.
He's got a shot in the last race. Not a huge price. Taurus to win his 6th.
5 for Christian Torres here on President's Day with one more mount coming up. We'll be back.
Eclipse champion Blame, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back with you on America's Day at the Races on FS2. It's brought to you in part by legendary Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. $44 winner in a photo finish. Here in the 8th at Oaklawn, what a day for that man, Christian Torres, who delivers again, number 5 on this President's Day card. Let's go to Paul LaDuca.
Yeah, with winning jockey here, Christian Torres, and I was just asking Christian, what made you decide to ride only 3 years ago, Christian?
I always wanted to be a jockey since I was like 7, 8 years old. That I was watching races back in Puerto Rico with my family, and I just fell in love with horse racing, and I finished high school, and then I decided to start galloping and learn a lot. I galloped for like 2 years, and I was learning and breeding a lot of horses, and when I felt I was ready, I started riding.
Well, your sense of timing is unbelievable. Take us through your trip here. Did you ever think you were going to get there?
Honestly, yes. When I tipped her out in the stretch and I encouraged her, she really took off on me, and I knew it was going to be tight, but she was giving me everything down the lane, and I knew we could get there.
Well, he's just getting special and more special. 5 on the day. He's going to look for a 6-bagger in race number 9. Christian Torres is white hot.
Incredible what he has done and only been riding for a few years' time. This meet, he actually became the fastest rider in the history of this meet. to reach $1 million in purse earnings at a meet. He did that back on January 11th.
Yeah, I think both you and I were shocked when we heard that he had only been riding for 3 years, because he really does ride very, very well, as evidenced by that ride he gave last Samurai in the stake race. He's a terrific rider, and I don't know how young he is, but, I mean, you got to think he's going to Churchill after this, right?
World's his oyster.
I mean, this kid can ride. He can
Got a chance for
ride.
6 on, told it's pronounced Ozarks, the 6. Torres will be aboard, off since May of last year. And one of several with a chance in, I thought, maybe the best betting race in the whole card.
It's certainly wide open. I don't have any idea, but I'll lean on Paulie. I just thought a lot of horses could win the race, and it's the kind of race where, I mean, I was saying to you off camera, some horses can win. You sort of narrow it down to whatever the group is, and you take the ones that are the biggest price, and maybe you make an exacta play or something, and bet a couple dollars to win on some big-priced horse that you just think has a chance.
We'll talk through that field coming up and all the various intriguing horses at big numbers in the race. Obviously, a huge one on the road to the Triple Crown coming up this weekend that runs through Hot Springs, the Rebel Stakes. Grade 2, $1 million purse. The prep for the prep to the Derby. And a great field that is going to line up who will step up. Well, verifying for Brad Cox, I believe you and I were on for this performance.
We were.
January 14th, 3-year-old debut, a 97 Beyer speed figure in this victory.
Listen, horses have come out of this race to verify the number. I think he's going to be very tough. Very fortunate for him, drew the rail, so he doesn't have to worry about, you know, having a wide trip in the turn. He's got speed, but there are faster horses, and Florent Geroux is on a good one here. This is a very good horse, and he is definitely the one to beat. I mean, I have a lot more work to do, but he's tough.
The horse he had no problem with in that race, that was Gun Pilot. Gun Pilot comes right back out of that race, and he does this.
Exactly.
Against Bourbon Bash.
He ran 1 Beyer point lower in his next start, so ostensibly ran the same race. Now, I'm going to have to obviously do the work when I get home, but I believe that David Argona tweeted yesterday that somebody else from this race came back and ran very well yesterday. So this is a confirmed good race, but he was no match whatsoever for verifying.
This was just the 3rd start of Gun Pilot's career. He won his debut, and then he had to go against the very talented verifying in his 3-year-old debut. Comes back, wins again. A gun runner 3-year-old. Looks like with a lot of upside for Steve Asmussen. Meanwhile, Giant Mischief, here we go again, Brad Cox.
I am a big fan of this horse. I thought he ran extraordinarily well last time out with just a ridiculous trip. He blew the start in there. He made a big move. We'll show you the start. Look at that. Our crack team. These guys are, I mean, he just totally blew the start. He made a big middle move in here. I worry, though, that he's not going to get better with more distance. And I wonder if he's going to be more of a Woody Stevens, Alan Jerkins type horse. Now, those are tremendous grade 1s, but I think his races are going to be better going shorter. Also, he's going to have to show that he can run that kind of figure on a different track. But he ran a 95 Beyer going 7 furlongs at Keeneland and beat Arabian Lion, who has not gone on with it. I'm intrigued by this horse. I'm just worried that a mile 16th is going to be too far, and I would imagine that Brad Cox has similar concerns.
3-year-old debut coming up this weekend. Yet another in this arsenal of Triple Crown contenders for Brad Cox. Meanwhile, Reincarnate shipping from the West Coast off a grade 3 sham win when he was with Bob Baffert.
Yeah, and we're seeing these horses are now being switched as the only way to get points. They have to switch before the end of the month. And we'll see. I mean, listen, he beat Newgate last time. Newgate ran a triple-digit Beyer in his next start.
And National
subsequently
Treasure.
got hurt. Yeah, but he subsequently got hurt, unfortunately, Newgate. So this was a very good race last time. And, you know, if anybody, he's probably the main contender against verifying. I would think they're the two that will vie for favoritism, Greg. The first, you know, I've only made one run through the race, but they do look like the fastest two.
West Coast speed. Usually the quickest of the quick. We will see. It's going to be a fun
West
weekend.
is best. Is that the
Speed-wise,
paranoid?
usually.
Well, they used to. I mean, it used to be such a great speed track and stuff. But
that's going to be a fun one.
fascinating. Yep.
These races, obviously, step by step, they get more serious. Now we're getting into really the big ones. These 50-point races. Rebel, Fountain of Youth, Forte's likely return March 4th. Gotham in New York cut back to a mile. Out west, the San Felipe. And a Turfway, John Battaglia Memorial.
It's just fun to learn more about these horses as time goes on, you know? And I'm not somebody who's going to be betting on these future pools and looking at those things. And just like to see and watch the races and get ready for the Derby and watch some horses improve, and obviously some will fall by the wayside. But there are some nice-looking horses out there. Excited.
We have seen our Derby winner at this point, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he's unraced, the Derby winner,
Well,
end of February.
It
I think
happened,
even Justified already won,
17th of February he debuted? I think it was.
You say it like you know it, and I have no idea. I just knew it was in February.
It's rare if that happens, but I would think he's out there somewhere. We're just unsure of who he is.
I got a text from Jay Pribman that said you need to watch the Baffert horse that's running in whatever race today at Santa Anita. Now,
Okay.
a lot of people knew about him, but I appreciated Jay doing that. Ernie Munich, who works with us, it was one of the great moments of his life.
We have the nightcap still to come at Oaklawn. We talked about all the interesting ways to go in here. Obviously, the 3 still in the books. We thought was going to take a lot of attention here. The public, look who's caught on to who's having a big day, Christian Torres. The public making that one the current 5-2 favorite.
Makes me want to bet against him, but I'm rooting for him.
I thought Hacker interesting, the 8. He's taken some money down to 10-1 from a 20-1 morning line. Ridgepoint Road dropping a class, another one to look at. We'll go through this group when we come back. 9th to close it out. 5.5 furlong sprint, $12,000 maiden claimer from Hot Springs is next.
War Dancer. The momentum continues with recent stakes winners on turf and dirt. Dancing Buck going wire to wire in the Grade 3 Belmont Turf.
Dancing Buck has opened up on the field. It is Dancing Buck by a half dozen lengths.
And 2-year-old filly War Saichi with a wire-to-wire win in the Ladyfinger Stakes.
War Saichi asserted her authority immediately out of the starting gate, and she has not relinquished the lead.
War Dancer, the #1 third-crop turf sire in North America. Proud to stand in New York.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
Bet Aqueduct in Oaklawn for a chance at taking home your share of $5,000 each week. Hit the late pick 5 on Sunday at both or either track and split $5,000. Opt in at NyraBets.com.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Oaklawn's newest attraction is the Mainline Sports Bar, a family-friendly sports-themed experience.
It's top-of-the-line sports bar. We have 3 Topgolf swing suites that are available for rental. We have 2 axe throwing lanes as well. Everyone who's come in has just had a blast. You know, we have a lot of places will just have it painted on bullseye. Ours is from a projector, so we have different games you can play on that as well. You can play tic-tac-toe. We have a duck hunter. We have a zombie killer, and then we've got our traditional bullseye board as well. I'm a big fan of the golf. I've never had the opportunity to play at Pebble Beach, so here we have a simulated Pebble Beach. It's the exact course. So it's an amazing experience to be able to come and do that here in Hot Springs. We've got a great bar. We got a great menu with some amazing wings, pizzas, burgers. It's really something for everybody. I'm obviously watching football on a Sunday, and then with all the things coming up, March Madness.
You can watch your favorite game or race on one of over 90 large screen TVs and wager in the all-new Sportsbook area. Oaklawn's newest attraction is the Mainline Sports Bar, a family-friendly sports-themed experience.
Have the nightcap coming up at Oaklawn to close things out on this President's Day edition of the program. 5.5 furlong sprint from Maiden Claiming Company. And still on the rocks in the background there, that 3. Morning line favorite, Chris Hartman claimed off of, this horse went from Diodoro to Steve Asmussen, now to Chris Hartman.
He's got great numbers off the claim with maidens, but I think that your point is a very good one. He's been in such sharp barns that you really think he's going to work his magic with this one. He's an 0 for 10. I mean, obviously he can win, but the other thing about him is he's got no speed at all. He's a 5.5 furlong race. You want a horse with no speed as the favorite that's 0 for 10? I don't. I think there's much more interesting horses out here. I'm interested in the 9 for Diodoro. It's coming in for Wayne Catalano, a little switch. I just thought this horse might be a little bit interesting. You know, I know he's an Archie bred. It's not an Archie bred race, so there's quite a few Archie breds in here. I might bet a couple dollars on that horse.
There they come onto the track again. Christian Torres looking for number 6 on this card. He was the favorite, no longer the 6, Ozarks, who has been off since May 8th of last year.
Pretty silly that he's the favorite, right?
Player in this race for sure, but yes, should not be the favorite.
No, absolutely. But, you know, it doesn't matter how good the riders are. It's horse racing. It's not jockey racing.
I thought even the 12 at 15 to 1. Interesting in here, dropping in class.
Not totally impossible. He's had his share of chances. That bothers me, but he's 15 to 1. Not impossible.
We're going to see Impoverished first. Steve Asmussen owns him as well. He's got Isaac Castillo on a horse dropping to the lowest level he has been at yet, here in start number 4. And he has speed from the rail.
He does, and he does figure to be under the gun. I just don't know if he's good enough. It's an odd claim. What would Steve Asmussen claim this horse for? He is an action guy, huh? He is really an action guy. Gotta love it.
Yeah, all those wins, all those big wins. Got the 3-year-old champ from last year, and he's claiming a horse for $15,000.
Well, Greg, you don't win $10,000, 10,000 races by running in grade 1s all the time.
So here he is, Impoverished. Expect to see him forward, and there's quite a few, though, that look like they want to go to the front of this race. 5-0 Fox, probably another one that wants to be forward.
Right. I mean, that could help the other horse. I don't think he's fast enough, though, to be in the first tier, but he does figure to be forward.
Here he is. We said went from Diodoro to Asmussen, now with Chris Hartman, the 3.
We'll see how much pace he gets. I'm not taking this horse, 0 for 10 and other sharp barns with no speed. He'll beat me.
Uptown Social, another one dropping to the lowest level yet.
I did not like this one. The only thing I'll recommend is he is a cutback in here, and I do like turnbacks. His race 2 backs good enough, the rest not.
El Mongo went by. Here's Christian Torres looking for number 6 today.
Both El Mongo and Ozarks are not Ozarks or whatever are both not impossible. Fringe
Joe
players.
Bill might be impossible.
He's tough to make. He had form at Prairie Meadows, but his Oakland form not.
I'm intrigued by Hacker at 12 to 1.
Not impossible whatsoever.
Speed against Better, dropping in class. Ridgepoint Road, another one who's shown speed ability against Better.
He's just strictly on a trainer switch to Diodoro. I'm going to lose a couple dollars on him.
More speed with a 10, Cruising Rocket.
Yeah, I think they'll be outrunning him a little bit, but he does have speed.
First-time starter. This is Naderade.
No money for this one, no pedigree.
And the 12, another class dropper who's been competitive against Better.
His races 2 and 3 back are both make him a little bit possible in here.
15 to 1 from that outside post. So 4 minutes away. Nightcap at Oaklawn. Very good betting race to close it out. Let's go to Paulie.
Yeah, this is an unbelievable betting race. But you look at the will pays, though, the 3 is absolutely smashed when it comes to the pick 4. The 50-cent pick 4 is coming back $105. Now, I know it started with a $5 double, but you just got a $40-something horse, and the 3 is absolutely just crushed when it comes to all the multis, pick 4s and pick 5s. And, you know, Chris Hartman drops his horse down to 12-5 for Francisco Arrieta. The blinkers that went on this horse about 5 starts ago. And, I kind of agree with Andy. When you lose in the Robertina Diodoro barn, you lose in the Steve Asmussen barn, you kind of go searching a little bit. Okay, but, this race is 5.5 furlongs, and, he really doesn't have a ton of pace, so he's going to have to come off of it in here. I think he is the one to beat, obviously, at 2-1. Now to get to the 6, Ozarks. Christian Torres looking for number 6 for Ernie Witt. I actually was talking to Ernie. He has a box right where I always get my coffee, and I was talking to Ernie, and I was like, listen, Ernie, you got a big shot in the last. He goes, I do, but here's the issue. The horse can be a mess, and he came out. He's washed out a little bit. He was being a little rambunctious. Sometimes he can be very, very hard to load, he said, too, as well. So, he's the kind of horse that maybe I would wait and see a little bit. I'm also intrigued, too. You mentioned a horse in here, Greg, a Hacker. And the reason why the 8, I think, could be a player in here, the main special weight Archiebreds down to when they go to claiming is light years. They're running for $90,000 purses when they run for maiden special weights here. When they're dropping down here, these are $30,000 purchases. So this is a huge drop for the 8 here that has shown speed at the maiden special weight level. So I'm with you. I think this horse has got an outside look as well. In my long shot, I like the 2. I thought the 2 ran well last time out. Didn't get a race first time out. I thought, hung in there for a long period of time. I don't know if, he can get to the front end. I do not like the 1. The 1 just completely backed out of it last time and seemed disinterested. So I think 5-0 Fox is interesting. I think the 12 is interesting. And I'll be honest with you, I'm closing out in the pick 4 to the 2, 3, and 12. Those are my 3 horses.
All right, Paulie, good luck with that. 2, 3, 12. He's got a big one in there with Kiss of the Nile at 18-1 on the outside. 5-0 Fox basically threw out that first race. He didn't get to finish it, and then was in the mud sprinting. So he gets a fast track for the first time.
I don't like 5-0 Fox. I thought he was in a horrendously weak field last time out. I know there are no killers here. And the horse he dueled with actually won the race, so it's not as though the race fell apart. But I'm going to root for Paulie. I just didn't particularly like this one.
This race is too interesting to have an even money favorite win it, isn't it?
Yeah, this horse is ridiculous at even money. I mean, he's been in sharp barns, and he's got to come from way back at 5.5 furlongs. I think this is insane. How do you look at a horse like this and say, I'm going to take him at even money? I mean, I understand he's got some figs that lay over the field. I get it. Like Paul says, I get it. But he's had a lot of chances. And by the way, he's lost at 9-5, 8-5, 8-5, 7-5, 2-1, and 2-1. So it's not like he's been a big price in his races and he hasn't gotten it done. He's been in a number of races he was supposed to win, and he's failed every single time.
Back, early on when he was, maybe not even early on, but when he was a 3-year-old, he was with Doug O'Neill. He was second in a straight maiden race at Los Alamitos. He's not that horse anymore.
No, that's the thing. And he was in Diodoro's barn. He didn't win at short prices. Then Steve Asmussen had him. Okay, he didn't really get bet last time, but he was awful last time. I tell you what, he runs his last race. He barely has an edge on these. But to me, more importantly, you're betting on a horse that doesn't have speed. Now, there could be some pace in here, but this is 5.5 furlongs, and you're going to take a short price in this horse? Not me.
In a crowded field, too.
Yep. Absolutely. You could absolutely get in trouble in here. No speed, breaking towards the inside. I think this is a horrendous gamble at a short price.
Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for potentially a disastrous trip, trying to find a way through if you get shuffled back here in a crowded field.
Absolutely.
With plenty of speed up front.
The good news is they're circling. They love to circle at Oakland.
Just a few minutes behind schedule.
Well, there was a tow delay, to be fair. But, we're leaving at 6 o'clock, Greg. You and I are just going. We're just walking out.
So when you look at this group, we talked about the 2. To some extent, maybe the 5. There's the 8.
I think the 9's a little interesting first time.
I'm talking about pace.
Oh, pace?
Yeah.
The 1, 2, 8, and 9. I mean, the pace projector from Timeform has 1, 8, 9 in the first tier.
And the 10,
2, 4,
probably,
5.
Right?
2, 4, 5, actually, in the second tier, and the 6, 10, 12 in the third. It doesn't mean it's going to line up like that. That's where the pace projector, which I look at for Timeform US, that's what they have.
Public sticking with, I mean, look, Chris Hartman has had, it's been really the big stories of the meet. Trainer-wise, Norm Cassey has been ridiculous. It's just incredible from limited starters. But Chris Hartman and Robertino Diodoro.
Yeah,
and anything moving to those barns, especially Hartman, Diodoro, especially when they've claimed, they move way forward, and that's why this horse is taking a lot of money again. But
do they move forward off the kind of barns they've been in is really the question I have. I mean,
yeah, that's another big part of it.
That's more my question. These horses have been in legitimate barns, and that's something that concerns me a little bit at least.
Well, with all the pace we talked about.
And once again, neither one of us is saying this horse can't win, but I think he's a terrible gamble at a short price.
And all the speed, maybe it just sets up for our man of the hour today, Christian Torres. That's a horse who looks like, certainly from that last trip, I know it's a long layoff for this horse, too. It's a 5-year-old making just his 5th start. But if he, great stalking trip last time, maybe gets a great trip here.
And you're not going to split hairs with horses at prices in this race. You know what I mean? There are situations where, I'm just going to look at who he is. I don't love this horse. He's been off 10 months, but he does have races that give him a chance in here. But I also think he's not a good price at 7-2 because everybody's betting on Torres, right?
He also was in this level before. In fact, easier. He was in State Bred 12-5 maiden claiming and got beat.
So he's not really for me. I'd love to see Torres win his 6th. He's had such a fabulous day. I don't think it would diminish if he didn't win it, if he only won 5 today. So it's kind of a cool story, but he's massively overbet at 7-2. At least I think he is. I mean, look at it this way. If Christian Torres hadn't won a race today, what price do you think this horse would be? So either there's a big story off the layoff, which is a little hard to believe at this level, claiming this level maiden race, or people are just loading up because
what do you think it would have been? Maybe
12-1.
No. Really?
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. What price is the 5? Is he really look much better than 5? Or you're 8? I don't know. I'm probably wrong. He'll probably win. This kid won in a crazy
I
horse
think the
last
price
race.
is still too big on the 8 at 10-1.
Did you bet him? You need some action, Greg. You haven't been in his action as much as usual.
Been stung recently.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a tough game.
Nightcap from Oaklawn. Vikstoff for the call. It's still in the books, the 3, the favorite, but Christian Torres looking for number 6. On the 6, Ozarks. See if he can get to what's been a tremendous day and add to that tally coming up. Vic Stauffer with the finale from Hot Springs.
They're at the post. They're off. Impoverished and Cruisin' Rocket, 5-0 Fox, and Between Horses, El Mongo. They all race out. Ozarks is next, then Kiss of the Nile and Hacker, followed by Still on the Books and Ridgepoint Road, then Uptown Social, followed by Joe Bill. At the back of the pack is Naderade. Into the far turn with Impoverished and 5-0 Fox 1-2. Impoverished leads by a length. 5-0 Fox is second by a length and a half. Cruisin' Rocket runs up 3 deep. Outside of him, Kiss of the Nile in the green is 4 deep and 2 from the front. Then comes Still on the Books. To the outside in Ozarks, Hacker has 5 lengths to make up. Uptown Social is next. Then Joe Bill, not today for Ridgepoint Road. They run to the top of the stretch, and it's Still Impoverished and 5-0 Fox. Kiss of the Nile, Cruisin' Rocket. These 4 across the track. Stretch runners are coming, and one of them in the center is Ozarks and Christian Torres, who's got a chance to run down. It is Impoverished, now Still on the Books, splits horses, and here comes Still on the Books from Impoverished, and Ozarks and Kiss of the Nile still on the books. Still on the Books, 1, 2 1/4. Impoverished was second, Ozarks third, Kiss of the Nile finished 4th.
Christian Torres for a moment looked like he had horse on Ozarks the 6, winds up third in here. It's the favorite Still on the Books with the win to close things out.
Just because you bet against horses doesn't mean they don't win sometimes. And this horse, Arietta did everything right. He hustled to get position, and then the Red Sea opened up for him. He got a lot of good things happen to get it done. Fun day of racing. Enjoyed it.
It was fun. 11th timeout, Still on the Books with the win. Back next Friday. Actually, coverage begins at 2 Eastern on FS1 from 2 to 3. Then we'll be on FS2 from 3 to 4:50. So we will see you then on Friday. Hope you enjoyed our program and our special President's Day coverage. Dr. Ardito, what a roll in the Haynesfield. 6 straight for this Chad Brown runner. The Gray getting up again in a great battle with the Millionaire Banquet to outlast that one. And how about 10,000 career wins for the Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen? The historic victory came in the 5th with Bet He's Ready. Incredible career continues.